Flash is coming up at the top of staircase. There's an easy kill for Hyper in a second and a third. DarkZero in full control. A triple for Grixer, and there's the quad. United.
Great teamwork. Sonics take the lead again. Disrupt the best of the best.
His teammate's gone, and what's this? He's got a Nitro Cell as well.
TSM. Tempo Storm absolutely storms through this matchup. Oxygen takes the series. Space Station Gaming are your world champions.
Welcome to the North American Major Qualifier. Do you feel the heat? One major spot on the line. 4 teams battling it out today. I'm Jackie Jing, and I'm with our analysts Veli and Jesse. Gentlemen, happy Saturday. I'm sure you're pumped up, really excited for the qualifier today. Veli, how you feeling, man? Good morning.
I've been waiting for this day my whole life, Jackie. The qualifiers are finally here. You got Sonics, Tempo, DarkZero, and Flynn with the rest of Mirage battling it out. I can't wait. I'm excited.
And Flynn, I love it. Jesse, how you feeling, man?
I feel great. You know, we got 4 teams, 1 major spot. I don't think I need to explain how that's going to end. This is going to be a really fun day. I'm excited to watch Flynn and the rest of the Canadians play out here as well. And yeah, it's going to be a good one, Jackie.
Yes, lots to get to today. Let's bring up the schedule very quickly. And we begin with DarkZero versus Mirage, Sonics versus Tempo Storm. And the winner of those matches will play each other for the last spot of the major. And Veli, these teams are going to be coming out guns blazing today.
You know what? The one thing that we can all learn is that the last few play days that we've had has been any given Sunday, and any team can win. So that's the reason why I think that the one team that everybody feels like is going to run over the rest of the competition might not happen today.
And Jesse, talk to me about the pressure these teams are feeling right now. I can only imagine.
Oh, it's got to be crazy, right? Like, one day you're going to play 2 best of 3s, assuming you win the first one. You got to be on for that entire time. It's going to be a long day on this broadcast, so players need to be consistently showing up over the course of a possible 6 maps to get that spot. It's really going to be the best team that makes it to the major.
All right, gentlemen, we cannot wait to get to the action, but really quickly, a quick word from our sponsors. Take a listen.
The most exciting part about the major is it's online, so it's definitely a new experience for like everyone.
We don't really care if it's an online major. I know people are mentioning it means less, but it means just as much to us. It's extremely important.
Since everything is online, we want to make sure that what we're practicing is going to help us right now.
I feel like an online major will definitely give a lot of these players that are known for having this choke kind of mentality on LAN more strength or more power because, you know, it's not as much pressure. So if anything, I think it'll make for good games.
The most exciting part about the major is definitely just like the hype that's around it.
Going to the major is the biggest thing to go to for any team.
At the end of the day, if you qualify for the major, it means you're one of the best teams in the world.
You know, it's still going to be the highest level of competition out there right now.
Things are going to be way more intense in terms of overall skill.
It's crazy. Like, there's no other feeling like it.
Oh my goodness, that video has got me pumped up. I just, you know, we talked about at the top of the show, these teams are feeling so much pressure. They want to clinch that last spot. But really quickly, I want to pull up the bracket. And Jesse, can you just break down how we got to this point so far?
Of course. So we will take a look at the bracket here, and this is going to be 3 teams from the US division, 1 team from the Canadian division. DarkZero got 4th, Sonics got 5th, Tempo Storm got 6th. That's why they're the North American qualifier and not automatically sent to the major. Mirage were the best team out of the Canadian division, so that's why they're here playing in the qualifier as well. We've got the 4th place US team versus the 1st placed Canadian team. Then in our second game of the day, we're going to have the 5th and 6th place American teams. That's going to be a rematch, Sonics versus Tempo Storm. And then we'll have the winner of those 2, and the winner of that final match today will head to the major to join the other 3 American teams.
Ooh, cannot wait to get this underway. But very quickly, we want to check in with our casters for this matchup, and that is Blue and Stokes. Blue, you better be wearing that scarf. If you are not wearing that scarf, I'm going to be disappointed. This is the day to wear that scarf. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Blue. I bet he's not wearing it.
I believe.
I think I heard he's.
No, I'm not wearing it.
No!
There was literally like a 15-minute discussion on this before we went live.
Oh my, how did I miss that? I was probably getting a coffee, but gentlemen, great to see you. I'm loving the shirts, actually. Stokes, we kind of match. We got the flower memo.
Flower power, that's what it's all about.
Love it. Aw, well, how y'all feeling about this matchup? DarkZero versus Mirage.
For me, it's going to be an interesting one. This is like the first time we're seeing the Canadian division clash against, directly anyway, a U.S. division team. So it's going to be a first preview of that for a lot of people, trying to figure out exactly how these leagues sit and where they compare to each other. So I think it's going to be really great to set the expectations for that, especially as we get later and later into the year.
I completely agree. I think that's my biggest takeaway from it as well. Just to determine how good is the Canadian division. I think that's a question that everyone has on their mind. We've seen a lot of arguments back and forth, and I think this will finally settle that.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. We're going to let you prep for this match, and let's start chatting about these teams and bring it back to our analyst desk. Okay, Veli, Jesse, let's start with DarkZero. They're 4th in the U.S. division. That's why they're here. In my opinion, they are the favorites to win this qualifier. This is a top caliber team. But Jesse, all eyes are on them. They have everything to lose, and they have not had the smoothest season, to say the least.
Yeah, Jackie, I don't think many people are going to disagree with you that this is the favorites coming into the qualifier. They are that 4th place American team. They're the only team that are in this qualifier that were in that winners group in phase 2. So DarkZero certainly have a lot to lose if they mess up any of these games. I think particularly this one against Mirage is going to be one that they expect to take pretty easily. However, in recent matches, they've looked a little bit weaker than we've known them to be in the past. I'd say against TSM, their most recent game, they looked a little bit frazzled, particularly on that Oregon map. They were doing some it seems like they were kind of all over the place. There were some team kills, there were some really weird and bad rotates. So that's a little while ago now. I'm hoping that DarkZero have fixed some of those issues. They're obviously a team that focus a lot on that mental game. Their support staff is ridiculously prepared for almost any situation. So they should be fun. Hyper is one player that I really want to talk about and take a look at here because his stats, while amazing, and particularly at the start of the season, looked really, really good, his KD has gone down every single matchup. And they started off, I believe he was plus 20 in the first game. In the most recent matchup, again, against TSM, he actually went into the negatives. I believe he was -5 on that match. So if he continues this downward trend, there is a possibility for Mirage.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. He is a huge key player on this team. Veli, I kind of want to pivot over to you. Okay. Adapt.
Say it one more time.
Adapt.
Say it one more time.
Adapt.
One more time.
Adapt.
There we go.
Adapt. I mean, this team, they have the skill, they have the talent, but they've just been edged out a few times this season because, frankly, they're a little bit slow to adjust at times.
You know what? It's really unfortunate, and it's really weird. Now, DarkZero, they are my favorite team on attack because they are just so damn good. They're the best out there, right? But when it comes to defense, that's supposed to be the easier side. They struggle. And by struggle, I don't mean they're doing kind of worse than the top teams. No, they're doing the worst out of everybody else out there. And that's why you see the decline in stats such as top dog Hyper, which is really unfortunate to see. If DarkZero wants to win, they have to make sure their defense is on point, or Mirage just might make this game a little way too close for comfort.
All right, well, talking about Mirage, I was able to speak with their captain, Flynn. We're a big fan of him.
Yes.
But he was actually pretty hopeful. I want you all to take a listen to this interview. Roll the tape. Hey everyone, it's Jackie Jing, and right now I'm with Flynn from Mirage, and super excited for y'all. You will be going to the qualifier. So tell me, how do you feel about that opportunity?
Oh, it feels amazing. Honestly, this is where I wanted to be. You know, I played in Challenger League a couple seasons ago, and there's not really an opportunity for Challenger League teams nowadays to get to the major, and back then it was a pipe dream. So, you know, to be able to be this close to it, this feels different. This feels special. This feels like we're in a new point in our careers that we've never really been to before.
This is the first time that we're seeing this format, and just like you were saying, it's giving you an opportunity that y'all didn't really have before. So I'm sure that it's really special for you.
It is. It's special. It's new. It's exciting. It's fun. It was interesting. Honestly, the Canadian division was challenging. Honestly, it was a big learning experience for us as a team as well, because we don't have many opportunities to play on a game day. You know, we played 2 games, and before that it was a month break before the qualifiers, and before that it was a month of scrimming. So that's a slow learning experience to try and build up for a brand new team. But I think we've picked it up every single game. We've got better, and I'm looking forward to really testing ourselves against the best of the best in the US division.
So you will be playing DarkZero. I'm sure that's daunting. Tell me, what is your mindset going into that matchup, and how is your team preparing?
Well, preparation has been interesting. We've experimented with a lot of different stuff. We had a lot of fantastic ideas, and then we realized that 5 days is not a lot of time to take those fantastic ideas and turn them into something on paper. So we've pared down a lot of our grand ideas and plans for the future, and you know, it's just about tweaking our game and making sure that our map pool will align with a scenario in which we come out on top.
What's interesting is that, I mean, without question, I feel like y'all are the underdog. You know, you guys have nothing to lose. So talk to me about your mindset going into this matchup.
It's weird. It's weird to have those expectations. It's a lot of pressure, and I think that's honestly why we kind of choked those first 2 maps in both our games. It's the pressure to beat the team in front of you, because we knew we could. We knew we were the best team. It's just about being able to overcome that hurdle, and it's a tough hill to overcome, and I think overcoming that against DarkZero, yeah, we're definitely the underdogs, but we just got to focus on us, play our game, and we'll see where the chips fall. You are representing not just your team, but the Canadian division. So I'm sure there's a little bit of pressure with that. There is. You know, it's I've talked about this game as almost like a proving ground, a litmus test. You know, this is not only how good is Mirage truly, but how good is the Canadian division truly. I just want to say to the fans, look, like, we're going to go out there and do our best, and we've appreciated that you guys have been in our corner for this entire journey so far. It's actually been incredible to see the amount of support we've had already. Honestly, as long as we have that same kind of support going into DarkZero, we'll be fine either way. So what are you going to tell your team going into that matchup? Like, what's the pep talk that you have prepped? I don't know if I've worked out a pregame speech yet. I think I gotta hit the books on that one for actually writing one down. But I mean, it's the same as, you know, when we lost those first 2 maps on game day. It's reset, boys. Every single round is a brand new round. It's a 5v5. There's 3 minutes on the clock. Do your job. Win one round at a time, control what is in front of you, and forget about the rest. If you can't control it, stop worrying about it. Focus on yourself, and, you know, you get down a couple rounds, it doesn't matter. We've proven we can come back before. We'll do it again. Well, we shall see. Maybe y'all will get that upset, but thank you so much for chatting with us. Absolutely, Jackie. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Well, you all just heard it from Flynn himself. Mirage has nothing to lose. Veli, they got to play wild, fearless, unpredictable. And like you said before we showed that video, they might just win this thing since DarkZero doesn't fare well against that. Am I wrong?
You're right. First off, I just got to say shout out to Flynn. He was a caster, our colleague, and now we get to cover him. This is actually, like, it's beautiful. I wish him the best luck. But you know what the one thing Mirage has to do? Taking a look at how I was saying DarkZero, they're the worst defensive team out there. Mirage, they have been Mirage has won 15 rounds and lost 12 out of their last 2 series on attack. So that means they know what they're doing. And take a look at the two handsome men on your screen. Chase and my man Flynn, they're ready to go. I can't wait to see them frag out. I hope they don't get rolled over too hard.
Working the flannel too. I love it. Sorry, Jesse.
No, I mean, obviously this is going to be a fun team to watch. I do want to stress that this is going to be the underdogs, not just because, DarkZero is this huge monster in NA and Mirage are a pretty new team, but I was talking with Flynn earlier today about like some of the other things going on with the squad, and like they had a lot of issues maybe recently, just outside of the game. Chase loading the guy on the right side of your screen just before, recently found out he's allergic to the sun, which is pretty bad.
Oh my gosh.
Flynn has like a radioactive cat, which has gotten him sick like in the last couple of days. They're actually like, the whole world doesn't want Mirage to win, it seems, so that'll make their upset, if it happens, all the more great.
2020.
Oh my gosh. Seriously though, 2020. After hearing all that, I feel like underdog's an understatement.
Yeah.
But big brain, I want you to pull up your stats and do your thing, line these teams up. Is this impossible for them when you look at the numbers?
All right, I mean, there's a way to spin this where certainly we just bash on Mirage all day, but I'm going to try to make this as positive as I can.
Okay.
Because there are some upsides, and I think there is a path to success for Mirage. I think particularly Silent has been a really big player for this squad. He's got a 74% cost overall in the Canadian division, which is not just the best in Canada, but it's the best out of any of the American players as well. You can see he got 80%. This was just map 3 against Altiora. So total, it's a little bit lower than that, but he's still been absolutely killing it with consistency. There's an asterisk I got to put next to all of the Mirage stats. I'm just going to say it once. These are stats taken against other Canadian teams. The competition's a little bit lower, so keep it in your mind, but I still think that like good stats are important to highlight for Mirage, even though they were played in a different competition. I think their roam game has been really good. Their use of alibi utility has been a weird thing that stuck out to me, but like Silent's been good with that. Not loading as well has had a couple of moments where like, oh, that's good Prisma use, which isn't something you can say about very many teams. Yeah. And then the big thing for Mirage, one really key strength, is that their map pool hasn't really been shown much. They've only played 6 maps over the course of the last month, and that was only 3 unique maps. So most of their map pool is hidden, and if they can leverage that to bring some surprises against DarkZero, they might just be able to sneak something out here.
Okay, so Silent, is he your player to watch?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I think he's been the best player in all of Canada this season.
Okay, Veli, who is your player to watch?
It's definitely... Oh, my player to watch? Oh, easily.
Yeah.
And this entire lobby is going to be the main man, Hyper. I cannot wait to see him go all out, especially like a team against a team like Mirage. Hyper, outright the best fragger in all of NA, next to Bolo, Laxing. He is on top of all of them. And there's a reason why. He's fearless when he goes into gunfights. I said it recently in a video I made. He is not the sneaky type. He will challenge you face up, peak for peak, shot for shot, blow for blow, and he will win that gunfight even if he's in a disadvantage. So for Hyper, I'm looking for him to have a huge game in order to put DarkZero up on top.
Okay, Hyper and Silent. Let's get to predictions then, gentlemen. There's the man right now, Hyper.
Actually, this is really important because as much as I've been saying how great Hyper is, Jesse had a really good point about his recent game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's been on the downtrend, right? You see it here against TSM. He went 11-16. That's the first time Hyper has gone negative in a match. And if you look at his stats, the first game of the season, he went +20. Then he went +12. Then he went +3. Now he's -5. Yeah. If he keeps on this downward trend, again, this is another opportunity for Mirage to really take advantage of that.
Okay, well, those are our players to watch for this matchup. But now, gentlemen, prediction time.
Okay.
Putting you all in the hot seat. Veli, I just looked at you first, so you go first.
This isn't a hot seat. On paper, DarkZero should win. Does that mean that Mirage has no chance? No shot at all. I think that's going to go to a third map. But DarkZero, they should win, and they're going to be my prediction.
Third map, okay. I mean, it's Siege. You never know, right, Jesse?
Certainly, and I do love the boys on Mirage for sure, but DarkZero, you can't not pick this team. They're the heavy favorites going into this. I'd love to be surprised, but I have to put my money on DarkZero, that's for sure.
If you go for anybody else at this point, you're just asking to have the hottest take of the hottest takes. Like, it's, yeah.
Okay, y'all, we are going to get to this matchup, but we do have some cool stuff for you. Kickstar actually started a new segment where he answers people's questions from Reddit, so that's going to be rolling in just a hot second. We also have your community poll results and your boys, Blue and Stokes. And do not forget to follow us on our social accounts. We got a Twitter account, we got an Instagram account, but I'm ready to see this.
Yes.
DarkZero versus Mirage, people. Do not go anywhere. We will be right back. See you soon.
Hey guys, my name's Kickstar. I'm going to be answering some common questions that we were asked in our Reddit Q&A regarding Siege competitive play, anything you wanted to ask me in particular, or just anything Siege related, really. We kind of left it vague because we wanted to know what was most interesting to you guys, and hopefully my answers will be helpful. So let's get right to it. Caliber Jacob asks, for new viewers, what's the easiest thing to focus on during a match to help make sense of what's happening during the course of a round? There's no easy thing to just say, oh, look at that. That's going to help you out. And keep in mind, we're also only able to see what the observer will show us, which isn't everything. So being a Siege Esports viewer can sometimes take some serious perseverance. But I'll give you the best pointers that I can give in order of Siege experience. So starting off at the bottom, if you are new to Siege, try and focus in on an operator, not necessarily a player, but an operator. Identify that operator, mute, Mozzie, smoke, ash, whatever it is. Try to figure out what that operator can do. Pay attention to the user interface, especially. That tells a really big story. And you can expand this after you've learned a bunch of operators. You can expand past just that one to multiple or the whole team and see what's represented utility-wise on the user interface, whether it comes down to the abilities of the operator, Ash's Ash Charge, Sophia's Lifeline, or the side secondary gadgets that those operators are bringing to the table. Identify what they are, identify their use one at a time. Once you've built up that wealth of knowledge, the next thing to focus on is hotspots. So a hotspot is referred to in many different ways through a cast. You'll hear it commonly called a beachhead or an avenue or where they're congregating. You know, there's many different ways that we try and put your focus on the objective of an attack. Usually it's going to be an attack. They'll point out a particular part of the map. They'll be like, okay, we're going to go here. We're going to execute from here. And finding out where those hotspots are will give you kind of a better frame of reference for what the attack is trying to accomplish. So you've got gadgets and what the operators will be doing. You've got hotspots. Next is angles. So angles play a big role as well. You can call them many different things too. It's it's crossfires, angles, lines, what have you. There's a bunch of different ways that we'll try and address angles. But what these are is essentially just the hotspot paired with any kind of flank that will be coming out. So if the attack, for example, is on Oregon and it's top floor, what you'll commonly see is the tower wall into attic get opened up, as well as the wall in master closet getting opened up into games. So why do they open both walls? They open both walls because they're trying to accomplish a crossfire. They're trying to get more lines. They're trying to disrupt the defensive strategy by gaining more ground. So pay attention to where the attack is going, where they're opening up, and where they're congregating most commonly with their hotspots. Once you have all three of these, you should have a pretty decent wealth of knowledge to pull on to have a better understanding of what's going on in a round. I know that I focus primarily on the attacking side of things, but they are the ones, the attackers, are the ones who set the tempo. They're the ones in control of the round for the most part. And if it's ever the opposite, if the defense is ever setting the tempo, the attack is likely doing something wrong, making a major mistake, and you'll probably see that reflected in the round result. Not always, mind you, but that is a general pretty good rule of thumb. So remember, start with gadgets. What does the team have in the tank? Evolve from that into hotspots. Where are the attackers congregating? Move on from that to what angles are the attackers trying to accomplish? And then finally, I think you've got a pretty good understanding at that point. So good luck.
And welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the major qualifiers. We've got our first match teed up and pretty much ready to rock and roll here at any moment, folks. I've got Stokes with me on the cast for Mirage against DarkZero, our first time that we're going to be seeing a US Division clash directly against a Canadian Division team. Stokes, what do we make of this match?
I'm excited for it, man, especially with Mirage coming in to play against DarkZero. DarkZero kind of on a downward spiral, but I expect them to bounce back. I think Hyper's going to have a big game today. It's either going to be a shooting range or Mirage is going to shoot back.
Pretty much the case. It's a very cool storyline that's been leading up to this one. Obviously, Mirage has been doing a great job in the Canadian Division, managing to make it out of the first split here in first place. Meanwhile, for DarkZero, while they had a great start to the season themselves, things, as the analysts have mentioned multiple times already, they started to slip quite a bit as of a few weeks ago, both on the individual side and on the team performance side. And now that opens up the possibility for Mirage to have potentially one of the biggest upsets we've seen in a while if they can sneak through this series. Before we get too further, though, we do want to give you guys our community question for this one. We want to know which player is going to have more of an individual impact on this match. Will it be Hyper from DarkZero, or is it going to be Not Loading from Mirage? Be sure to go ahead over to our social media channels, notably our Twitter at R6esportsNA, and be sure to go ahead and submit your vote. We'll have the results a little bit later on during the show. And now with that said, we can start talking a little bit more about the map pool and where we might end up for this one. This is probably an area where DarkZero is going to be at a bit of a disadvantage just because of the slight info gap on Mirage, I would say, right?
I completely agree with you. And this is something that Jesse was touching on earlier inside of our analyst desk as well, is that Mirage practically has half the map pool hidden right now, and that could definitely play into their hand. Looking through this entire map pool, they haven't even played Theme or Club, while DZ also has, and they won both of those maps. So I could expect us to possibly go there, but also for DarkZero, they'd either want to go there or they'd have something changed up. But again, this is them more than likely walking into this thinking that they're ahead. DarkZero is obviously smart enough to assess the situation and say, hey, we have the upper hand, we just need to do the proper things on these maps. So again, it's an open book as to what we go to. It's really in Mirage's court, I would say, as to what the map we end up on is.
All right, well, we've already got two of them on the board. Theme Park is the initial pick from Mirage, followed up swiftly by a Clubhouse pick from DarkZero, and finally we will end up on Villa as our final map. Pretty interesting pool with all things considered. You would assume there might be more like of those straightforward maps for Mirage to bring this pool in, or for Mirage to be able to play around with a little bit more openly, but that's not the case. You had brought this up before we were even going live, Stokes. These are very like execute heavy maps, so it's going to be very interesting to see how both teams try to work that, I think.
Yeah, and I've watched a couple of the Mirage games as well, and it seems to be that they are more of a utility-based type team. They really like their strategy, but that's kind of what I expected when it came to Not Loading and Flynn. This is something that their squads have ran for a very long time. They've never been the team that's extremely go with the flow. They can obviously make their mid-round adjustments, but it's always had a set plan. Let's make things to where everyone understands what's going on. It's it's a really good game plan for, I think, the style of Mirage's gameplay. But obviously DarkZero is in the same court with that. So and they do it better. So there's definitely an argument to be made.
Any key things that you believe either team is going to need to focus on in order to come out on top with a victory on this matchup? I think the question is pointed more towards Mirage here, as obviously they're new to playing against teams like DarkZero at this caliber. But yeah, just give me your general thoughts as we are getting started now with the match.
All right, so we'll keep the shots clean to start, obviously. So for DarkZero, I think that it's just the mid-round adjustments. Play it like any other day in the office. You guys know what you're doing. Just make those adjustments. Those are the biggest things that we've seen lacking from them, is that it's been a one-man show, and that one-man show needs to no longer exist. For Mirage, let Not Loading shoot straight, let Silent shoot straight, and hopefully those anchors can keep things locked down in sight.
Which, by the way, just to avert any confusion, in-game Not Loading has changed his Uplay and is going to be going by Loading. So just in case anybody gets tripped up by that, that is the slight difference in the name change there. First two bands that come out, it's the typical bands we've been seeing from Theme Park. Maverick and Thatcher are gone. Clash follows that one up as she has found a very useful position here on Theme Park, and I would imagine we get a Maestro ban or a Mira ban here, and it's looking like we are going to end up with the latter of those two options. So pretty straightforward bans here for the first map.
Well, it looks like we're going to have some Kali play, so might be able to see some MLG type, stuff going on here with the FaZe clans and such. We'll have to see exactly how it works out. But Mirage and DarkZero jumping into this one. We haven't seen Theme Park in a little bit either, and I have not seen Mirage actually play Theme Park just yet.
Their first encounter is coming up here in just a moment, folks, as their selections have been locked in. We'll also see there's going to be any 6 picks here in a second. But pretty much the expected loadout, especially to attack a throne room defense, which is exactly what we're going to get from DarkZero off bat here. As you had mentioned, there's going to be quite a bit of Kali play, and we immediately see that already from loading.
Well, they're going to have to practically bring it every single time. Maverick and Thatcher both off the board, and they have to get a wall open somehow. So that's what we should be seeing. And they're also going to be bringing the double hard breach. Zilchi and Flynn running that. So grenades and some soft destruction brought. Should be working well here for Mirage and Silent.
We got some news, folks. We got some new Pro League skins available. Make sure to go in-game and check them out for a limited time as well. 30% of the proceeds from those sets are going to be going to the teams themselves, so make sure you jump on that opportunity while it is there.
Okay, well, first site we're going to is going to be downstairs, and you guys probably guessed it, since it's Theme Park, we're going to be going to Armory Throne. Which means DarkZero is going to have to hold upstairs. Right now, it looks like they want to go for some possible spawn kills, or at least hot and setting up for Mirage to have to drone upstairs. Some reinforcements sent upstairs as well into office to support this roam game.
At least making them shake a little bit with the window piercing, just to make them think that maybe someone's trying to get aggressive. But thankfully, Silent already had the drone up there, so any fears in that department should be swiftly averted by the Mirage roster here. Still probably going to spend a good amount of time droning, just because they don't necessarily know how aggressive DZ might try to be on Mirage, considering the reputational gap between these two teams. It's not looking like we're going to see any of that, though. DarkZero is giving a lot of respect to Mirage right now, and is playing this out as you would expect. So, got the bathroom hold for Houghton. Probably not going to see much action anytime soon, as both teams are just holding a hard angle onto each other player's point of view currently.
Respect is good from DarkZero. Don't want to make a misstep early on here. Have fallback plans as well, with yellow catwalk open, so the Vigil will be able to escape out of office. Not delaying too much time yet. Still want to delay about 30 seconds here until they want to start falling back. And no picks from Mirage, but they're making some good progress, especially with this drone game early on.
A lot of intel. It's all about how they follow it up, though, and actually execute upon the sites, which hopefully we'll get to see a little bit more of that within the next 30 seconds here or so. Once we get around the 1 minute mark, Mirage will have to start taking a bit more map control, and they've already actually started doing that over here towards Dragon, managing to bargain for that pretty early on here. They've got pretty much their run-of-the-mill for this half of the map. Just need to try and transition things downstairs into the actual throne room take.
Well, with the top take now accomplished, they need to get this hard destruction done. It's Zilchi for hatches and Thermite for the walls downstairs, but what are they going to want to take? That's the main thing. The only wall denial that the defense has is impact grenades, as well as mute jammers, so that should be pretty easy to deal with, all except for the impact tricking that possibly could go on site.
So we'll see the follow-ups on that in just a moment here. Loading was over by yellow entry. It has backed away. He also does not have either of the hard breachers with him to support currently, although that could probably end up changing over the next few seconds. Yup, we've got Flynn wrapping around on the yellow stairs now, so I would expect him to go in for the hard breach at any moment, considering time is getting low. Zilchi and Silent, in the meanwhile, look like they're going to try and get open barrels and see if they can also have a second POV. I don't know if there's a mute jammer on that wall, however, so there's a chance it gets interrupted, but we'll follow up on that wall in a minute to double check.
It's a very slow roam clear here for Mirage, and they still haven't found Houghton inside of lab. Plenty of holes above. Loading actually gets the first kill with that secondary SMG of Kali. That's going to be hot and cold inside. It's actually Memphis adjusted himself into the lab area, and now DarkZero light up the scoreboard. Down into the 3 versus 3 with only 10 seconds remaining. Flynn's actually getting a plant down here as they've blown the yellow wall. Holding it down is Silent, the rest of the Mirage squad, and they actually end up getting a plant off. All of a sudden, it's down to Eclipse and Hyper. They have to clutch out this 2v2 situation after they take down the planter. Have some mark DarkZero. Some missed shots from Silent doesn't work out for him, but Court's still able to hold things down through the breach. Hyper and or Eclipse still need to rotate. They have the ability to have Overwatch while going for Diffusal, but the Diffuse is on their end. Pre-Fire's coming out. The Alda, oh, it ends up working out for Hyper. 81 rounds sent Court's way, not able to deliver any shots back, and DarkZero take round 1.
Very, very closely fought round overall, though. Mirage certainly following the procedures in order to get them onto the sites. Obviously, I think they were expecting possibly a bit more aggression to come out from DarkZero and didn't really end up seeing it until the very end when we finally had the swing. I believe it was from Mint on the Jaeger hiding on the inside of Lab. It was the first real bit of aggression that got thrown at them. And, after that, taking the site wasn't too much of an issue for Mirage. It just seemed like there was a bit of a panicked attempt to get their players into post-plant positions, and that's where DZ was finally able to net their own advantage in the 2v2 and finally start to bring things back under their control.
Yeah, and also it's going to be a very big day for a lot of these players, so I kind of expected a slow start early on. I like how DarkZero didn't immediately get aggressive and tried to see how Mirage was going to set pace. Obviously, it's sort of slow. It's not the fastest thing in the world, but obviously we're not waiting until the last second to be able to put a diffuser down. We're just waiting until the last 10, which isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world, especially with the utility game that we have going on in Siege right now. So for Mirage, I'd say for the first round of the day, not bad at all. Hopefully they're going to continue to make some headway here. That was a really good start.
Now we'll look to build upon that moving into our next site as things shift upstairs. Let's get a pretty typical setup for this site right now. Nothing coming in out of the ordinary from the defender's side of things, especially with the extended hold on the Wamai right there for Eclipse. That's going to be a pretty important part of how long DZ can try and delay the overall attack from Mirage. So make sure you're paying attention to that, operator, as we get deeper and deeper into the round.
Old DarkZero not holding down waiting in office with deployable shields. That's what we've grown used to with this site. Looks like they'd much rather hold down yellow as well as the office vault here. Or at least dedicate some utility to delay Mirage. But they've already gotten quite a bit of information upstairs. We can see Silence already worked his way into maintenance as well. So should be seeing him clear out downstairs real quick and rotate up Dragon. Mirage making much faster time this time around.
Silent and Zilchi going to be grouping up for the push onto the inside of Control, hopefully relatively soon. They won't be able to go directly forward, though. You can see there's the two-man setup on the inside of Initiation, most notably with Mint having one of his Goyo shields to play behind. Quite a bit of delay potential here for DarkZero. That's something that Mirage is obviously going to have to work past, especially with the bans that we ended up with. The utility dump meta is very much in play right now, and Mirage might be one of the hardest things they have to try and work themselves past here today.
Well, the good news is that they came prepared, but it's mostly their hard breachers that are prepared. We have 3 stuns on Zilchi as well as Flynn. Well, down to 1 on Zilchi as he's attempting to burn an ADS. Also, if you guys have noticed, the drone game from Mirage has already been shot through, already halfway through their drone game, and since there is a mute on the field, it could even be more dire of a situation than we already have a hold of. Mint killed off early, though. That's going to be the Goyo. His shield's already down, but one already blown away inside of Initiation as Mirage continued to barrel down. DarkZero continuing to try and hold off sight.
Good opportunity for one of the members of Mirage to try and pick up a kill for themselves a bit earlier on, but unfortunately one of the 2x4s in the middle of the wall got in the way of it, so just barely missed out on the angle. Flash Dump's going to go in heavily to the inside of Vault right there to try and isolate out one of the players, and unfortunately as well, we'll see Quartz getting dropped when he tries to chuck out a nade. To be fair though, loading is there a second later to find the exchange onto a different player as he takes out Skies, but Flynn has also been downed. It's going to be very, very incapable of fulfilling his duties unless someone else from Mirage is going to be able to rotate around and retrieve him, which it doesn't necessarily look like that. Oh, no, never mind. They are able to get Flynn back in. My mistake. The rest of the team will group themselves up. Now try to recommit to the push, but unfortunately with under a minute remaining, the pressure's on. They'll have to start forcing themselves into the situation relatively soon.
These post positions here for DarkZero, at least these anchor positions, excuse me, really working out with the shield play, especially holding down Cafe, predicting Mirage's push perfectly. Hot and cold with a heads-up play through the drone hole, takes down Silent. All of a sudden, we're an equal man here. 20 seconds remain in this 3 versus 3. Need to be able to get a diffuser down here. Flynn, Hyper with a kill from the back area. Now 2, and Eclipse to clean it all up. DarkZero making quick work of Mirage on this execute.
Mirage, unfortunately, getting funneled into a single choke point limits their capability to frag out and actually take control of the site. Meaning, once again, in that late round situation, DZ is going to clutch it out and shut things down. stopping yet another attacker round from going onto the board here for Mirage. So far, things are looking nice and clean for DZ. Got a little close in the first round, but they did manage to piece it back together in the post plant. And now they're going to rotate to the final point on their site rotation as they'll head into the lab storage for the final site.
It's funny enough that Kix touched on this in his little educational thing with Reddit and all that kind of stuff. But this is the time for Mirage to set pace on offense, if you're wondering how that works, guys. So Mirage needs to be able to set the tone here. DarkZero's doing a very good job of delaying, but in that specific hold there, it was more set up for crosses than it was early denial or early utility use from the offense. We didn't see those shields set up very far inside of waiting or office. It was mostly barbed wire and reinforcements, while they held down initiation, then set up farther sight lines with like what we saw with Wamai with the AUG playing off of the shield that was attached to the cafe door. Some very nice setups there for their crossfires. It was just the fact that Mirage didn't have the intel to work through that. So I think that that's what they need to address for right now, is try and get that early intel on where these crossfires are going to be and try to isolate your gunfights.
Hot doing a bit of drone hunting over there, is able to isolate out one of them. He's going to try and find loadings if he gets an opportunity to as well, but we'll see. That was a problem in the last round for Mirage. You had mentioned it at one point in the round, Stokes, about how their overall drone count had been drained pretty heavily by DZ, and that could have contributed to the overall lack of intel at the end of the round when they got funneled into that single choke point. So maybe something they'll have to watch out for a bit better on this round here, as they're now out on the board, ready to attack the downstairs site.
And here's the thing that's really hurt me about the drone game right now is we're only 20 seconds in, right? But obviously we have a prep phase, as everybody knows. We already have 2 drones gone from Mirage, which, you know, in any typical game, you'd say, yes, oh my god, there's absolutely no way. Zilchi, he's behind you, kill him. There you go, a knife to the face. Houghton has one down outside of the window, but it ends up working out. Flynn is to be able to put a plant down. He's going to adjust into the corner. Silent already taken over as well. DarkZero needs to take back this site. Zilchi into the post plant now. They have complete site control, and that's a diffuser down in less than a minute, folks. Less than 45 seconds, and you only have 40 seconds to defuse this one, DarkZero, but you already have the 2 entry kills that you need. Eclipse still has top control as well, but I don't know if he has any verticality to be able to work it from. Quartz is down. This round's already over. It's done and dusted in less than a minute and 30, John.
They actually don't think they fully realize that Quartz is the last one down. They fix it now though. They'll jump on counter defuse. Man, my mouth was just like open that entire round. I was like in awe of what we just saw before us there. DC once again able to round it back though, but what a play from Mirage. Walking in, I think Skies was on cam and he gets caught in the process of that and gets knifed.
Yeah, I just want to imagine the comms there. He just gets knifed. He's just like, what the?
Skies is like, what happened?
What is going on, man? What is this thing? It's ridiculous. Oh my, I was not expecting that. I need more coffee for this. This is something else.
Credit to Mirage for catching that gap in the defense and being able to execute through it. But unfortunately, yeah, just couldn't set up post plants, and unfortunately got ripped pretty quickly by the retake from DZ.
That was the thing, is they mostly had the post plant in sight with Flynn, as well as I think it was Zilchi that was in there with him, I believe. But I don't understand how they weren't able to hold down lab longer, or excuse me, not lab, but storage longer than they did. The kills came in very fast for DarkZero, and it was simply off them just swinging lab. So I don't really understand why Mirage were so opt to take those gunfights so early on, instead of attempting to either rotate out to save their down man or setting up outside the window to try and wait for DarkZero to retake. They seem so opted to take the gunfights early inside of that post plan. I don't exactly know why.
Either way, it is going to lead to what is so far a flawless half from DarkZero. Still 3 more rounds to go as well. We'll now see them begin their second site rotation. This was the site where we saw Mirage probably get the closest to an actual win so far, even when considering the last round. Things looked pretty good for them to be able to take it, and they had a pretty solid-looking 2v2 post plant. Unfortunately, one of those 2 players ended up, in my opinion anyway, peeking a little bit too aggressively and giving away a fight that could have been delayed, and that ultimately led to bringing it down to a 2v1, which DarkZero were able to control due to the last player being out of the site and not really able to re-peek safely.
While Mirage headed back towards Throne Room for round 4, DarkZero, very similar setup, and that means that they're going to have to deal with a roam game once again. Houghton all the way across inside of the vault, so starting in relatively the same areas as they did the last time. Mirage just needs to simply clear better this time around. DarkZero was able to continuously delay time, eventually working their way downstairs into lab, where they were able to pick up some very impactful kills, even though Mirage was still able to work things into a post plant position after taking yellow. So Looks like for right now, they want to take maintenance. Hyper does indeed have some impact, so he could definitely get rid of those charges.
Once again, though, as we had back in the first round too, there is no active denial on the wall, so it should be a pretty easy process for them to get it open. Obviously, ignoring any impact tricks that we're more than likely going to see from the defense here. At the start of the round, once again, though, things look good for Mirage. They find the opening pick against the Vigil. Hotten's dead. So some good play potential to come off of this. Also, a nade nearly catching Hyper. It's a good thing he gets the grenade out real quick and starts running. Otherwise, he would have been a dead man to that. But either way, loading is now going to take him out when he ends up peeking the main doorway. That's 2 down now for DarkZero. Mirage getting away with quite a bit here. And this could snowball pretty quickly into an easy round win for them.
I'm also very concerned right now because DarkZero has my offsite. Well, actually, no, Eclipse has worked his way back in, but he has 3 discs right now. This could be the saving grace here if he's able to stay alive as well as get a few frags in the process. Mint's worked his way back into the far side inside of Armory, so now both remaining members of DarkZero inside of sight. Mirage still needs to get a diffuser down though, but where's going to be the area? Drone's back open. Nades in as well. Eclipse still having 4 nades in his pocket. He needs to get these Wamai discs down, and that's exactly what he's going to do now. Trades come through, but now it's up to Eclipse in a 1 versus 3. Quartz from far range takes down Eclipse, and Mirage win their very first round on attack.
Solid one as well, capitalizing on the earlier aggression from DarkZero. They are able to find those first 2 kills incredibly early on, including one against a player that was forced out from inside the site, forced to try and go for an aggressive peek. That's where the colleague takes a capitalization. Things go down to a 5v3, and it continues to snowball, as I mentioned in the mid round, further and further from that point forward. So great capitalization from Mirage. Good job at not slowing things down after they get the first kill either. They keep pushing the pressure. They keep forcing players on DZ to make mistakes, and that's how eventually things end up going very solidly into their own control at the end of the round.
Well, Armory Throne once again here. Not too many mistakes made from Mirage there at all, as you were just saying. For DarkZero, though, I don't really see how they truly did anything wrong either. The roam game really wasn't effective. I guess we can point that one out. But their site presence, they weren't really able to lock down the walls. And it was a botched impact from Hyper that made it to where the maintenance wall ended up getting opened, which also led to his demise. He tried to rotate across towards the B bomb chassis, and loading was holding that as well. So I'd say for a one-front assault, Mirage did miraculously. DarkZero just needs to be able to make this roam game work. I haven't seen Mirage set up too strong of a rotation hold or anything along those lines. We haven't seen them been using any of that utility either with the Nomad and the stuff that we're usually used to seeing here on Theme Park. So I definitely like to see if DarkZero could possibly get a rotation in late, but again, not too sure of what Mirage's situation is on that flank watch, so we'll have to see how DZ does.
Also another chance for Mirage to find impact, and more than likely they can execute in a very similar fashion to how they just did in the last round. Well, thankfully they're attacking the same site. Might not be the same positions of players, though. Still have that roam game present on the top floor. Mint's going to be holding on the inside of initiation. You've got Hotten over in the vault. Hotten was already dealt with in the previous round, so Mirage are more than likely going to immediately start looking for him, and whether they'll be able to isolate out the Jaeger. Be a newer addition to this that will prove if they can be effective in the same way as the last round or not.
Mirage going about things in very similar fashion to the last round, so hopefully they're expecting a very similar result. Hot and Cold wants to deal with Silent once again, last time being thwarted, but still playing inside of Office. This is actually very regular here for DarkZero. Don't want to change things too much if it's not broken. Got by with it the very first round, but ended up taking a plant, so looks like DarkZero wants to fall back early here on this roam game, but not off of the roam game. They'd much rather back up and just make Mirage be the aggressors, but it doesn't even seem that Mirage wants to do that. They'd much rather just hold the flank and get this maintenance wall open and deal with the site pressure instead.
First attempt to hard breach out through maintenance going to be working its way in now, and there's no one there to try and trick it, so it's going to go off without a hitch. Nice and easy opening there for Mirage. They kind of sneak it in, so no one on DarkZero is available to even attempt the trick. And they don't even have the utility for it anyways. I just checked that now. Would have only been able to try it with Skies on the Nitro cell. But obviously, we didn't even have the soft destruction done on the top panel at that point. So impossible to get done. Wall's been safely opened. And now it's all about how Mirage segues this into an execute, which was, to at least in part of degree, the issue as to why they lost things on round number 1. Because they took a really long time to do it. And ultimately ended up in that like sub 20-second execute. So if they get put into the same situation again, we could be looking at a problem. But it looks like they might be getting ready to move in like really early here, around like 40 or 30 seconds if they get into position quickly enough. There's still a lot of roam game to deal with, though. So this can also be kind of dangerous for them. There's a lot of factors playing into the next like 30 seconds right now.
Yeah, it's going to be very hard for Mirage to work their way into sight without a separate sight line. That's exactly why Habana's rotated towards yellow to establish this. But as you said, the roam game could definitely be some trouble here, as Hot and Cold is now downstairs inside of Lab. This is where we saw some DarkZero members in round 1 that were extremely impactful. Still able to hold both of these rotations now, but Mirage need to pick, be able to get into sight, and this is the trouble here. This is the adjustment from DarkZero. As you said, they didn't bring the barbed wire on Hyper. They'd much rather just play the anchor positions in sight, and it seems to be working so well right now. Toxic Babe out, but no, it's a Nitro Cell. It's actually Mute behind that shield. Nice explosive play there. DarkZero all over the entry game from Mirage. Skies cleans it up, and DarkZero win round 5.
Much better performance in that round from DarkZero. Not only are they able to avoid losing their roamers at the beginning of the round so early on in the round as well, but they're able to delay with virtually 0 wall denial on the inside of Throne Room itself. Weren't really trying to impact Trick as far as I saw or anything of that nature. That was all on their roamer anyway, who was way off site, so wouldn't have been able to contribute. And despite that disadvantage, are able to hold without pretty sure without a single player going down there. I think it was a flawless round from them.
They ended up losing 1 because Flynn hit a nasty refrag. Now,
Like right at
I
the
think
end,
he killed
right,
one
though?
Mai that was playing behind Throne, if I caught that correctly. But again, I make mistakes, so we'll have to see how well that one goes.
Up until that point, obviously a pretty flawless round.
Oh,
from DarkZero.
so well done. And the adjustment was exactly what they needed. For Mirage, they were able to get that last round strictly off of just having one thing open towards Throne. That shouldn't happen. As we were talking about before, crossfires are extremely important, and that's a site where you're going to want those, mainly because of the anchor positions that can be held. We saw Eclipse playing behind Throne. That's a very common one, as well as the shield that we saw with Skies, which has become commonplace as well. So Mirage just needs to work more on that intel game when it comes down to their executes. They just don't know where these anchor positions seem to be, and they keep getting caught off guard when they end up going through the breach, and they're not able to get those frags as they're needed. Either that or the refrag game just really isn't working out for them.
All right, guys, so Initiation is going to be the final defensive site for DarkZero before we switch sides here. Similar loadout to what we've already seen as they've defended this previously. Heavy emphasis on the Goyo to allow extended holds and then delay when those holds need to retreat. And then their usual defender utility kit. You've got the Maestro, the Jaeger, the Molai, and the Mute.
Okay, well, Initiation is the site. DarkZero committed to a lot of this. Soft panel here with... Oh, there's the rotation. For some reason, it was bugged for me on the other side. I couldn't... It didn't look like Eclipse had a rotation inside of Initiation. It looked like just a soft wall. It's like, all right, so we have a soft wall next to reinforcement with nothing there. But no, it actually does have a rotation. Sorry, I got caught off guard there. Silent's actually already inside of barrels. That's what's catching me off guard because they just popped the hatch open. And that's probably really scared Silent. But I don't believe that they know he's here. There's no way that they know he's here. Hyper definitely knew Zilchi was there, though, and he ripped his head off, and now he's looking downstairs, which makes this even more scary. You have a guy that doesn't miss very often, excuse me, with a gun that has 81 rounds. So Silent working his way upstairs now, up arcade, and this could be the solution that Mirage needs to Hyper.
Well, first Goyo shield's going to get taken down there by Silent as he blows it up down the hallway. It opens up arcade run a little bit better here for Mirage to try and utilize that to pinch in. Only one piece of the puzzle here. They need to try and work their way past before they get close to the site. Even opening up that panel there is going to be a little bit risky. Oh, loading. He's got such a close angle here. He's a pixel short of being able to see that Maestro's hand and take a shot. Unfortunately, he can't shoot the gun and get damage off. And Silent is also going to get caught off, but thankfully, Hyper does jump up a second later and finally gives loading the angle to work off of. Not only that, but his teammate Quartz is going to be able to move in here for another one. Unfortunately, he will lose one of his utility pieces as he's going to get tripped up by one of the line discs when he tries to throw it at the wall.
Well, Mirage in the hot seat now, 2 versus 3. Flynn the only one with a drone. Mute still in play as well, as one saw the Mute jammer working its way through, and last drone dead. Now it's all face checks for Mirage. This could be very dangerous, but if Loading's able to create some magic here with a sniper rifle, they definitely could win it, but it's Skies close to the shotgun. I don't see this one going very well if he does choose the rotation, but instead he's going to Claymore it. Locks him down, but he peeks and pre-fire. Shotgun shells out. They know that Skies is close. He's already adjusted himself, but Mirage is going to flood the gates here. They're inside of initiation. Oh my God, Mirage working it out, but now with only the 1 versus 2 diffuser in hand, loading, are you going to stick it? He will. 2 seconds remain on this plant. Mint working his way in, but they know where he is, and they're holding 2 separate angles. Is he ready for him? He pre-fires both, tags them both, but can't kill either. DarkZero 5-1 on their defensive split.
Valiant attempt from loading in the 1vx, has the right idea, even has the right positions for the most part of the players from DZ when he swings both angles, but just can't connect the headshots that were needed in order to close that round down. So DZ does indeed secure the 5-1 half for themselves, as they're going to be switching over to the attacking side now.
Well, very good defensive half there for DarkZero. Shut down most of what Mirage wanted to do and adjusted when they figured out Mirage's game. So now that Mirage is on defense, they're going to be filling the same void. Hopefully they can find their way through this, because DarkZero, their offenses haven't been the greatest. That's what everyone's been talking about with them. Their defenses seem to work out so well, but when it comes to the offensive game, they're one of the worst in NA for winning their offensive rounds. So for Theme Park especially, with this lead, this is where we need to see DZ shine.
We are going to see at least a little bit of wall denial right off rip here from the folks on Mirage, where we didn't really see that at all from DarkZero. DarkZero were perfectly comfortable playing their rounds out without any wall denial and just being comfortable using tricking, if anything at all, try and stop their opponents from getting in. It seems Mirage is a bit of a different strategy. They are immediately going to put Zilchi on a bandit.
Well, initiation, the first sight for Mirage here, and this could work out well. Throw DarkZero off a bit, but doesn't seem that DarkZero is too unsuited to attack this. They do have the 1 hard breach setup here instead, so going with quite a bit of soft breach as well as the IQ and the sledge. That's a lot of soft breach. A lot of soft breach here. Mint actually is going to have some good applications, at least inside of A, to where you can get rid of a decent amount of Flynn's utility underneath. But besides that, it's not going to be the best show here for IQ, specifically because of the B bomb site. I do believe, if I remember correctly, that most of that room is actually concrete. So yeah, because that's actually where Throne sits. Throne sits right below that. So that's entirely concrete. So IQ not going to be the best operator to try and deal with that situation.
So we'll see how exactly DarkZero are going to approach this. One thing you can note right off bat here, once again, this is just giving credit to Mirage, like being properly prepared for this matchup. They're not hiding in the site. They're not being afraid to take fights. And this is the same for their attacking side too. I want to talk about this a little bit, about how usually when there's like these huge mismatches from teams at different rankings, the team on the lower end of that is like really afraid to try anything aggressive, because they're just so worried about, you know, the potential skill gap of their opponents. I don't see that at all right now for Mirage. Mirage have no problems whatsoever trying to play confidently against DarkZero, and that's a really good sign that a team is very confident in their own strategies as well as their own individual play, that they're comfortable trying to make those kinds of, you know, positions and general plays against a team like DarkZero, which, hey, it's going to start out well, too. Flynn is immediately going to find impact here as he takes out Skies on entry.
Skies, I don't even believe, was expecting him to be there, so a great rotation from Flynn down Dragon. That's might be the last place you expect to see a mute, especially this early on in the round. So good round for Mirage so far. Snuffing out DarkZero's attack this is just now their second person into the building. Skies was the first one downstairs. Didn't even seem to have a drone in tow either, but now plenty of drone work for DarkZero as they're trying to get the information on where Mirage lies.
Time continuing to get lower here for DarkZero. Already half the round used up, and they're barely in the building yet. Things are looking really good for Mirage to continue to hold, but at the same time, DarkZero still has a few things to utilize. Eclipse, for instance, has been, I believe, droning for quite some time and is eventually going to try and work his way. You can see his drone right there, in fact, working his way through. Mint also still clearing things out downstairs here, trying to see if there's any utility taken out. But as you mentioned before, Stokes, there's not a lot of floor to shoot through here for the IQ, so not really much they're going to be able to properly utilize. Hyper, though, does finally get revenge for the loss of Skies earlier in the round, takes out loading, and now gets the team into a better position to at least attempt their execute, at least some point within the next 20 seconds or so here.
Mirage still rotating around the map, though. We still have Quartz at least offside on the back side. That's over to the western side next to Cafe. DarkZero making decent headway here, but with only 30 seconds remaining, they need to get this diffuser down. It seems that priority for the time being is going to be Office. They do have the cash wall open to that. So that's more than likely the main way that they want to try and take this. Mirage still set up to be able to defend though. Worried about waiting hallway. Still have some good pings as well. It's the rotation up yellow. Can they get this frag here? It's the IQ with the G8, but they shut down the G8 pretty early on here. Zilchi gets taken out, but it's already into the post plant. Mirage way too focused on Mint's rotation instead of the man planning inside of sight.
Unfortunately, this is going to leave things in a pretty difficult position now for Mirage to try and retake, just because DarkZero has the opposite problem of Mirage. They've got great post-plant positioning. There's not a whole lot that Mirage can do without risking the lives of one of their players to try and get back into this. I mean, obviously, not going to be too relevant to the current conversation, but Hyper, definitely the case, as he's able to pick up 2 of the frags from the inside of Showers, and Hot and Cold secures the final one against Flynn. DarkZero take yet another round and get themselves up on map point.
That tunnel vision is extremely unfortunate there for Mirage, not able to kill the planner in the corner of office. So for Mirage, back to the drawing board. Where are we headed for this possible last round here? It looks like they want to go back to default this time around, rather go to Armory Throne Room and deal with that. We'll see what their setup's like here if they want to play for that if they want to play for, those anchor positions like we saw DarkZero do on their round. It's really rough when it comes to that round specifically, because it doesn't seem like they really had any intel. I'm going to assume that DarkZero burnt the Maestro inside of sight. Either that, or when loading died, the Evil Eye was in a position to where they weren't able to see where the plant was going down. That tunnel vision on yellow was just so unfortunate because the round was going so well for Mirage.
Yeah, things are looking really good, especially from the delay perspective, but DarkZero kind of made that work into their advantage because there wasn't a huge amount of intel as to what exactly DarkZero is doing, especially on the roam game downstairs. I'm pretty sure that Mint was able to get over to yellow without being noticed, and that probably was a good part of the reason as to why Mirage reacted so harshly to it and focused so much on shutting it down, because it was such a big surprise to them if that ended up being the case. And then also there was a lot of noise when the initial players from DZ were moving in, so DZ might have been able to mask the initial plant sound, and Mirage just honestly might not have caught it.
Again, it's really rough whether the information came in from sound or from visuals. It's well, we don't really know because obviously we're not playing on Mirage. So again, it might have been one of those situations where the diffuser goes down. You go, guys, who's watching sight?
It's one of those rounds where like you definitely got to interview the players to get the full picture as to what
that's one of those ones where it's so difficult to analyze because you don't know exactly what happened there. It just seemed like the 2 top yellow players didn't really get the full picture of what was going on. And that's probably to be completely, honest with everybody at home, that's probably the most difficult part about this job. But hey, that's the silent we expected to see. Early frags here. Spawn kill gets the bandit 1, and that Sky's dead on entry once again.
So once again, good starts here on both the rounds from Mirage so far. And you'll notice a pretty aggressive setup too. Loading on the Maestro is like halfway up Dragon stairs right now. Potentially trying to swing onto the people on Dragon balcony. So not necessarily what you expect for a hold in Throne Room, at least on this map here. Loading is eventually going to give up his pursuits on Dragon steps though and fall back into the inside of the site. So things are starting to look a bit more traditional for what we expect on a throne defense.
Well, still rotation upstairs this time, or Roamer upstairs, but this time it's Zilchi instead of Flynn. Flynn's worked his way over to the Kaid instead to lock down the walls. Not a bad play at all, especially since Akali isn't on the offense. So Mirage going to be able to keep these walls close for the foreseeable future. Oh, what a bullet hole from Quartz. He's going to take a little bit of damage as well, but I don't think Hyper's seen that one in the playbook.
Great follow through as well into the spray when he goes like out of the bullet hole a little bit. He's able to brace the body pretty accurately. So really nice stuff from him. Definitely a much better look so far here for Mirage. DarkZero does not seem as secure with their current positioning as they did in the previous round. Still with a confident push coming up towards the end of it, despite the early loss of a player. This time they seem a little bit more open to changes, if you know what I mean, from their strategy here. And things don't look as decided as they did before. Mirage, in the meanwhile, sitting nice and pretty. All 5 players still alive. Quartz, the only player taking damage, and it was self-inflicted. So not a single player has felt the heat of Dark DZ as of yet in this round.
Well, stun grenades in now for DarkZero and attempting to burn out whatever they can on site. Flynn now dead, so Electroclaws stuck to whatever they're stuck to or in his pocket. DarkZero need to continue to get these picks. They have no way to get most of these walls open. I'm assuming that Zilchi has the rest of them muted, so it's going to be a funneled push here for DarkZero, either from split or through the throne door. We'll have to see what they decide, but the more entries, the better for the time being. Able to get rid of what seems to be the Electro Claw, so they'll actually end up getting yellow open here. Almost a Nitro Cell onto himself as Zilchi tosses that onto the furnace. Oh, he's ready for the therm, though. Does he get it outside before it gets electrified? No, it hits the top bar and is taken out by his teammate's Electroclaw.
Time is getting incredibly low, however, so DarkZero will need to find these kills, and they'll need to find them very fast. Loading will be able to pick up Eclipse. He also downs Hotton, so everything is on mint now, and the 1v3's only got 4 seconds left. This one, it's going to come close, but it's not going to happen. Mirage will shut it down with 2 players still standing tall, and they will take round number 8, keeping themselves alive, but they still need to run 4 consecutively in order to take this to.
Yeah, it's going to be 5 consecutive defensive rounds here on the theme park if they're able to do it, but it is theme park, and anything is possible. Anything is possible, especially when it comes to this map. We've seen some crazy defensive runs before. So headed to bunk daycare. Mirage not too confident in that initiation pick once again. And personally, I wouldn't take it either. I want to see what they bring to the table when it comes to bunk daycare. DarkZero worked their anchor positions really well, especially with their crossfires to be able to hold down Office. I think Mirage is going to go for something similar, especially with the 6 pick to the Goyo. We're going to be seeing a lot of shield play here. This is going to be 3 shields with that Molmai. Actually, no, we're going towards Valkyrie instead. So 1 shield actually for Mirage.
I think they're still going to play aggressively, though, with the Valk. That might be the game plan here, is just to try and keep going for the extended roam.
I think they want to continue to give intel to this roam game. It's working out well for them, and especially with if Quartz keeps hitting shots like that, then keep giving him intel. That's really it, you know?
We'll see if that's going to end up being the case. The Valcam's going to be pretty important to determine that more than likely, so try to keep a close eye on Zilchi's position here and see where exactly the setup is going to lead him to try and get intel from. So he'll also probably be getting a little bit aggressive himself, depending on how many players Mirage potentially want to risk. All right, so I believe 1 in the corner of control. Where the other 2 go down at.
Are you looking for the mute jammers?
No, the
Valcams.
What I'm paying
Apologies.
attention to.
I was writing down some notes. Apologies. I have such a one-track mind, man. It's terrible. like we were talking about struggles earlier. That is probably my biggest struggle. It's just like I have such a one-track mind. I start doing something else and I just completely go off topic. It's terrible. Anyways, for DarkZero, it's going to be a start on the east, but that's exactly what we expected. The last time Mirage was quite aggressive to this side and held some very good positions to lock down that area. But now Mirage seemingly want to open, or at least welcome DarkZero with open arms here. I like this setup. We actually have 2 shields. That means, actually, yes, the Valkyrie bringing a shield, no nitro cell. So we're going to have 2 shields, 1 for each side. The other one not played nearly as aggressive as what we're used to seeing, which is usually set up inside of office or waiting room. This time it's inside of office vault. So it's not going to have a good area to play, especially with that shotgun.
All right, so the Valcams are going to have a pretty typical position, so nothing crazy going on in that department. They do have intel onto the Nomad pushing in, though, because of one of those cameras, so that'll remain the case. The same can be said for anyone moving into arcade or daycare. That's where the other 2 cameras are currently positioned at. Away from that, though, DarkZero focusing mainly on the east to west clear. They're going to be taking Dragon first, and have already done so, along with rooms like Cache and Control. But now need to try and push that forward. Thankfully, there's plenty of time to do it with just under 2 minutes remaining.
DarkZero is making very good time on this, and I like how they're clearing their utility as well. So that solo entry downstairs from Skies isn't just for looks, folks. He actually ended up using his breaching rounds to be able to destroy the mute jammer for cache wall into office, so that works out well for DarkZero, and Skies still existing as well, so no roam game downstairs makes his life a little bit easier, because those entries before were not working out. But it seems that DarkZero now want to make an adjustment, send some of their entries to the other side, try to get a pinch going on here, possible yellow rotate, but we'll keep you updated on that.
1 minute left here for DarkZero to start looking for that impact. At the moment, Mirage has a lot of good counters to try and stop DarkZero from taking set control. Quartz specifically, as long as he's able to properly maintain his current position in arcade, could stop quite a bit of the flow from working its way in towards Cafe. You can see the 2 players, Hotton and Skies, both stacked up there. Quartz is also very much aware that they're out on balcony right now. He's just waiting for an opportunity to play out that window, but aggression's going to get a bit too much, so he does have to fall back behind that first arcade cabinet.
Well, DarkZero now taking Cafe, and it seems to be a 3-point attack as Eclipse is going to take yellow at the same time. But Court's keeping things locked down for Cafe. He has the initial kill. Can he go for 2? He can. Now has Diffuser in his pocket. The very last round in his magazine rips through Hyper's head. Eclipse still locking things down on yellow. He's able to pick up 2. Now down into the 2 versus 2, though. They still don't have the Diffuser. They need to be able to at least plant something here. But no, it's the Alda for Flynn. He sends that thing sailing, drops through the hatch. Eclipse spinning inside his sight, but he's actually all alone, and Mirage staying in this one.
Some great work from Quartz. Like I said, he was going to be incredibly crucial to the round if he was able to come out with those 2 kills. The run's pretty much over. No way they can retrieve the Diffuser and get themselves on site in time. Love the little claps, by the way. And away from that, once he picks that up, it's pretty much as I said. Yeah, DarkZero unfortunately does not have the capability to get on site quickly enough. They don't have the angles to play for. Everything falls apart past that point. Although a good attempt at least from their player on yellow to try and turn that back around. I believe that was Eclipse.
It was a valiant effort by him, but at the end of the day, it was fruitless, especially after what Quartz was able to accomplish inside of 1 magazine. You kill 3 people, and with like 2 to 3 bullets left, you rip the head off a Hyper. So, I mean, hey. If Quartz is going to continuously hit shots like that, Mirage will continue to stay in the game.
Pretty much. Only 3 rounds away from bringing it back now and putting this into an OT situation. Certainly a marathon run, too, if they're going to be able to do that. So, going to follow this story very, very closely. For DarkZero, though, we had a bit of a rare 6 pick there, as we're going to bring Yana into play, an operator. The newest, actually, attacker to the pull. We haven't seen her too often just as of yet, but she's been thrown in there, sprinkled into the attacker strategies every so often. I think she can be quite useful now because Mirage, specifically Quartz, has been playing some hard to spot positions, at least when it comes to trying to spot them with drones. So bringing in the Yana might assist with this.
Ayana has been kind of a controversial operator when it comes to her play style inside of competitive. She hasn't been used very much, and she's found some impact, but it's mostly been trying to get intel inside of the map, as well as using her frag grenades to either destroy shields or burn some other form of utility. I personally like her as an operator pick. I think that she fills a couple of gaps, especially inside of the information game, like you were just saying. Having 2 drones as well as her Gemini clone works out super well for her kit. And I think it'll help out DarkZero a lot, especially with their playstyle. They want a lot of information in their offensive takes. So I think that this is the perfect fit for DarkZero. I'm honestly surprised that they don't run it more often.
We'll see how well it pans out for them. We already have just the drones being used right now. Probably going to save the replicator for later on when the drones are either killed or on cooldown here. And meanwhile, Flynn was hoping to try and get a timing kill onto someone trying to break the roof hatch, but he's still a few seconds off from that one. If he listens right now, though, would have had the chance right there, but not going to take it. He's been droned out, doesn't want to take the risk on being shot immediately through that hatch, so will fall back.
Well, DarkZero continuing these slow to enter the building offenses. Now they're finally working their way into Cafe, and it looks like they're going to make initial contact with Quartz as well, as he jiggle peeks the door just for some intel, doesn't actually want the fight, and that works into Mirage's hand. DarkZero trying to find a way into the building now. Gemini in hand. Hyper not following it up, though, so what is this entry exactly good for except for intel? They have a drone as well. Loading's already reinforcing the rotate that Quartz passed through, so now DarkZero only stuck with the rotation through waiting. Silent still downstairs as well. This roam game continuing to thrive for Mirage.
You got to be really careful following the replicator through directly, just because the noise it makes when you deploy, it's pretty loud. So if anybody is like in the next room, they're more likely going to hear it and be able to just ignore the initial peak. Because even the noise of her drawing it back, like deactivating it, makes that. Yeah, that's also really loud too. So you can't really trick anyone with it if they're like really close to you, because they're more than likely going to hear both sounds.
Yeah, you really have to set up quite far outside the door for that thing to not be heard. So I expected them to use it more as like a prodding tool, just to see exactly what's going on inside of sight. And it seems to be exactly how DarkZero want to use it. They don't want to try and get any entries off of it. But as you said, with how loud that utility is, that's not exactly what you want to use it for. Obviously, it's going to have its circumstances, but definitely not within that. Some good intel here inside of security. Catches Flynn as the Gemini drops down. Sky's now on the window, but could adjust a cash door. There's going to be a very late rotate here for DarkZero to try and get this offense to work.
Very split push too. There's two separate groups trying to work their way in, both at very different stages of said push as well. DarkZero's at the gates of the site. Meanwhile, Skies is still trying to get into the building from Dragon Balcony. A good nade find, but it's equally traded out now with one more as well by Zilchi, who's taken out Mint and Houghton. Eclipse is going to be able to take him down, gives the team better access to the site, but it's not enough. Still just two of them now. One of them left alive, and it's the one that's completely detached from the action. Skies way off base. We're going to see Mirage pick up round number 10 as they continue to come back.
Unfortunate round for DarkZero, not able to utilize the hard breach in the way that they really wanted on Office. It really didn't adjust how Mirage played the site at all, and they tried to eventually execute into Office, but they didn't have the pressure on the opposite side to keep things locked down. Skies dying early on. I don't know exactly who he died to, if he died to Flynn over there, but Flynn was still existing inside of stalls and was playing inside of the cash room very late into that round. So Mirage overall just able to overcome the offense of DarkZero, who's still moving quite slow, even given the additional information.
So we are going to have that Legion at 6 picked away quickly over towards a Bandit. Besides that, though, everything is pretty much as we expect for this attack. Although Hyper is going to throw one last curveball here, and not too big one either. Just going to switch the Zofia out for Capital. A little bit of extra utility. And I think that's a pretty good switch, too, when you consider that a lot of these rounds have been coming down to a very late round execute. If those micro smokes can be positioned properly, that can be some critical angles that DarkZero can cut off and hopefully make executing on the site at least a bit of a less chaotic situation for them.
I completely agree with you, man. I think the thing for DarkZero right now is that they need to trust this entry game. This is something that's always, been in the back of my mind for DarkZero. And again, this is a completely opinionated thing, so take it with a grain of salt, and you can always chalk it up to, hey, I don't agree with Stokes. And that's perfectly fine, folks, okay? For DarkZero, they've always been a very rigid team. I don't mean rigid in a bad way. What I mean by rigid is they're very strategic, they're very team-oriented, and they want to work things as a unit. That's awesome, but when it comes down to those mid-round adjustments, when you need to work things on the fly, DarkZero's squad on offense simply can't do it. They simply cannot. Most of the time when they make their adjustments, it's a one-player rotation. We see a 4-man take into waiting room, and then they get killed by a Valkyrie. I don't want to see that play from DarkZero. They're much better than this. I want to know what goes on inside of this mid-round where they can't make these adjustments, because it's very frustrating when you look at the talent on the roster.
All right, with the round very much underway, DarkZero again prioritizing a push from the east side of the building and the inside of Dragon first, with 4 of their players pushing in either down below into Gong or upstairs into Cash to start their entry with. And as you might expect, there's players from Mirage here to try and counter that out. Loading, once again, getting aggro on the Dragon stairs, trying to see if he can find somebody going for an early peek, but is not going to get it and quickly has to fall back to the inside of the site again.
Well, we are going to have the air jabs finally come online for DarkZero. Nomad in play. Haven't seen too much of her today, especially on this map. We were talking about that earlier. We usually end up seeing her here on Theme Park, so Mirage still keeping things locked down inside of sight. Everything good for right now. DarkZero still going through this roam clear. Information game is what they're working with right now, and still finding quite a bit of it, but it seems that they've adjusted downstairs as most of the DarkZero squad congregating inside of maintenance.
First nade going to work its way past there. Just the flashes, though, to try and see if they've got the ADSs on it. There is an ADS, it's just a little bit out of position.
Oh, that's so unfortunate.
So there goes the nade. Oh, no! They just completely waste the thermite charge. That's not what you want to have
There
happen.
you go.
Another nade going in. There you go.
Oh,
That's
no.
going to work a little better, and this one might get impact trick, so... Oh, no.
It still goes off, though.
Oh, went off, though.
It still
Okay,
goes
worked.
off.
The impact missed.
Nitro Cell.
I don't know how the impact missed, but...
I think I don't exactly know the angle you need for that, but that's extremely unfortunate that it doesn't work out, because Hyper also gets a kill off of it. Drones in to check out loading as well on Throne, so very hard position here for Mirage.
I was expecting DZ to be in a really bad spot right there with the impact going off. But like you said, loading a little bit unlucky, I guess, with the angle on the impact, so not going to make it work this time. Still has another one to try and deny presence if they want to try and push, but he is pinched right now. He's getting a lot of support here if he has any interest in trying to stay alive past the execute.
Well, still worrying about breach as well, which is good.
A good first find to be able to try and stop this push. He's going to fall pretty shortly after that, though, for the reasons we mentioned before. Mirage down to 2 on their defense here. DarkZero, however, only with 3, so they're in a delicate position as well. Zilchi is going to get completely wiped out when he tries to go for the peek. Had like 2 different players shooting at him right there, though. Now everything falls to Flynn. Gonna try to work his way back in here. It looks for the planter, gets that one, but there's a quick trade through the main doorway, and that will seal the deal for map number 1, ladies and gentlemen. DarkZero finally secure this map for themselves and are going to be able to take control of it, I believe, with a final score of 7-4, and that is indeed the case. Big congratulations to DarkZero for finally being able to get the job done, but at the same time, Mirage certainly putting up quite a bit of a fight, especially on the defensive half.
Anybody that's talking about the Canada division in a negative light needs to reassess the what's going on here, the ability of this team, because Mirage is looking so good, and I definitely think that they're going to have a dog in this fight when it comes to Clubhouse.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll stick with us. Clubhouse should be just around the corner. Before we get to that, though, we are going to go back to our analysis desk to break down map number 1 and get us ready for map number 2. So we'll be right back after this break.
Welcome back. I'm Jackie Jing with Veli and Jesse, and map 1 theme park going to DarkZero. They defeat Mirage, but gentlemen, that last round, I was sweating a little bit. That was fun to watch.
You all should have heard Jackie. She was screaming in the call.
I was kind of going crazy. It was a lot of fun to watch, and Mirage definitely stepping up towards the end there. But I actually want to start off with DarkZero. Jesse, let's talk about the post plants from DarkZero on map 1. 3 of their 5 defensive rounds actually came from post plants.
Yeah, and I think that sort of comes a little bit from Mirage's style. It comes a little bit from DarkZero's experience. Obviously, Mirage were really focused on getting that plant down, and you do have to credit Flynn for making sure that works. But 3 of the 4 times they got that plant down, they did lose the round anyways. And a lot of that comes down to DarkZero playing really cool under pressure. No matter who it was in that late situation, they were able to calmly approach the bomb site again, come for the retake, kill the people who had planted, and get that disable underway. So that was really, really calm reaction coming in from DarkZero. You might discredit Mirage a little bit from their experience. I mean, you'd like to be a little bit more successful when you get those plants down, but really, focus on DarkZero for that, because not many teams will be able to win that many post plants on defense.
Okay, and Veli, just real talk, DZ can struggle on defense. What have we seen from their defense today? Have you seen any improvements?
Yes, I've seen big improvements, and I'm so happy. So I went out of my way and said, I would like to see more intel ops on the end of DarkZero to possibly help them out on defense, their weaker side. And what did we get? We got more intel. I'm so happy. And before this series, DarkZero, they brought post 8% of the time and Maestro 25% of the time.
Yeah.
That means they've used Maestro 9 times since the U.S. division started. First 3 rounds, what do we see? Maestro, and then post. They're bringing intel. They're always one step ahead now. And their retakes, like Jesse has been saying, has been so damn well. So I want to say from what we've seen so far, there's been a lot of improvements with DarkZero.
And to add on to that, a lot of the retakes are coming off of having that intel, so keeping those evil eyes alive has been really important. You can go all the way back to round number 2, that Bunks defense.
Yes.
It wasn't a retake, but they wasted so much utility and so much time on sort of the east side of the map, and they retreated back to the bomb site near Bunks and near Daycare, and they still had all of their intel up. Those evil eyes couldn't be taken down because so much utility had been wasted. That was really good usage of that, heavy utility soak meta that we're in right now. So DarkZero really needs to be given credit for that.
And just to add a little bit more spice on that, that was a big reason why Hyper closed out the round with a 2K towards the end. Yeah. You saw a player on that evil eye. Nobody on Mirage tried to get rid of it. Hyper rode into the hallway where vending machines were. Got 2 easy kills, pew pew, and that was it. So, hey, hats off to them once more.
Yeah, DZ playing quite well, but Mirage, I mean, we can't say that that was a bad showing from them. I mean, that was actually pretty impressive, Jesse. They definitely had some sparks of greatness there, I thought.
For sure. I mean, I even want to focus on that first half because while it was 5-1 for DarkZero, I thought there were a lot of rounds where Mirage looked quite good. The way they were using intel to get those opening picks was super impressive to me. They were losing a lot of drones, and I think usually that's a sign of a team that's like not good at droning, but they were getting a lot of kills off of those drones. You could tell like the intel was coming in for Mirage, and while they might like drone in and lose the drone, there would often be a refrag. They got quite a few of those opening picks in the first half, and that was largely coming off of their intel. It was again focused on that latter half of each round where they started to let it slip away, you know, in the post plants or whatever it may be, that they started to get a little bit more frantic and they were losing rounds. But early round, getting those early picks, Mirage looked really good when on attack.
One thing I want to point out, the reason why I think it worked out so well, Jesse, is because Mirage weren't scared to be aggressive and get in those early gunfights. You saw a lot of early first picks. Shout out to Flynn and Chase one more time. You love to see it, right? But their aggression that they showed when they pushed Drug Lab, even though they lost that round, they need to keep that type of attacking game plan in mind. They punched DarkZero where it hurts most and threw that unpredictable gameplay at them. They should have won around. Yes, small mistakes happen, but they can get better next time around. I want to see more pushes. I want to see more aggressiveness coming in from them.
Okay, so actually, Valley, I was just going to ask you, you were just talking about what you want to see from them.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you what they need to correct on map 2, because like you said, they were making small mistakes. So what do you really want to see them bring to map 2?
All right, let's point out round 3 one more time to Drug Lab push. You had a player that was down, I believe it was Quartz, right, at the beginning of the game. You had 3 players left alive holding angles. Some of those players peaked early, lost gunfights, but they didn't have to peak, and also didn't pick up their teammate. I think that it was just inexperience of playing against a top team on this level of play. I expect them to be better than that. You know, sometimes you just got to die a few times, get rid of those shakes, and then come back stronger. So I think they'll be all right, map 2.
And I want to ask both of you just about the mentality of Mirage. It seemed to me they started off slow, and I was like, maybe they're feeling the pressure here. But man, it really seemed like they got into a groove at the end. It was just like a little too late. I don't know if you all agree with that. Jesse, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think so. I think that mentality is going to be a big thing coming in because Mirage are so like new as a team, and they also have such young players. You know, last summer I was roommates with Flynn for like a little over a month, almost 2 months, and he wasn't on this team. Mirage didn't exist yet, but he was on a different team known as Shrug. And really, like how it worked with that team is Flynn was a big it was a big mental factor for Shrug because they had some younger players, as does Mirage, and he was often able to sort of reel them back in after, you know, losing, let's say, going down 5-1 on attack, right? He was able to really just calm the guys down, you know, keep things going as they should, and really help them thrive, because a lot of the times it can be when you have a team with like really young, like high caliber fraggers, you want to be able to make sure they're in their best mental states, and they can sometimes slip away when things really get to their head and they start losing a lot of rounds. And Flynn is a really good player at calming those types of players down, and really just like excelling the rest of his team to make sure that they're in the best place possible to get those kills.
Let me say this, Jackie. The coach for Mirage actually messaged me on Discord while the map was going on towards the second half, and he said, quote, "We have no pressure, zero expectation, and we're ready to be dangerous." Now, listen, if a coach pops off like that, he's confident. That confidence, you see it in Quartz now in the second half of the game. I really think, I really want Mirage to pick it back up because I thought they were going to make it come back to overtime. And with him saying they have no expectations, that's the best way to play, baby. So I want to see him light it up.
That gave me chills. It was like dangerous. I was like, okay, all right. Well, gentlemen, let's talk about players to watch. What are y'all thinking?
So Hyper is definitely going to be a given because Hyper had
played well.
Outstanding. Yeah. He had a Hyper game, right? But Jesse, who on Mirage really stuck out to you? We highlighted a player before. Who do you think we need to keep an eye on now?
I mean, I was looking for Silent when we were coming into this game. He played well, but I think Quartz was the real standout player on Mirage. He had one round in particular, round number 9, where he was holding over by the cafe, and 2 players pushed into him. He kills both of them when they knew where he was at, and then he flicks around and gets a 3rd kill as well. Single-handedly won that round, I would say, for Mirage. He's, I would say, the most like impact plays. He's had the most plays that have led to round wins, or only 3 round wins for Mirage in there. But he's been a really big player, so I'm happy to see that coming out from another one of the young kids on Mirage.
Okay, and talking about players to watch, this fits in with our community poll question, which was which team will have the most impactful player, loading from Mirage or Hyper from DarkZero?
This should be one-sided. This should be one-sided.
Yeah. Hyper,
I love
79%.
Really?
Loading, 21%.
Just 79? I'm
I
impressed.
know. I was like,
This is
but
Mirage
yeah.
fans.
All right.
Yeah.
Shout out to Canada.
Yeah, Canada.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, Veli.
Shout out to my
Okay.
peoples up north.
Really quickly, let's just do predictions. We sticking with DarkZero?
Jackie,
or
we
how
don't
we
need to do
feeling?
predictions for this.
Okay.
It's DarkZero
okay.
versus Mirage.
Yeah.
I don't know. Mirage showed up a little bit in the end there. I wanted to see if y'all were feeling lucky, but okay, we'll stick with DarkZero then.
All right.
Okay, there we go. All right, well, we got map 2. Let's see if Mirage can step it up and get a W against DarkZero. I don't know. I'm a believer.
on,
Let's see
Flynn.
what happens. Yeah, come on, Flynn. Come on, Canada, as Veli so interestingly put it. Anyway, we will be right back. Map 2 is up next. See you soon.
Welcome back once again, folks. We are in the midst of our first match here at the U.S. Major Qualifiers between Mirage, the first placing team in the Canadian division, going up against DarkZero, our current 4th place team in the U.S. division. DarkZero just claimed the first map on Theme Park, and we're getting ready to jump onto Clubhouse for our second and potentially final map if DarkZero is able to take control. Stokes, think that's going to happen, or do you think Mirage has the fight to take us to a map 3?
Well, the beauty of it is Mirage gets to start on defense here, and DarkZero has to start on attack. And as we just saw on Theme Park, the offensive unit for DarkZero not doing the best right now. They were still able to close it out on that offensive half, but not before they gave up 3 rounds in a row. Granted, again, it is Theme Park. It does lean towards the defensive side, but that is going to tell a lot of the story when it comes to Clubhouse. We're going to be starting it up right now for you folks, so let's jump right in.
Let's go, folks. Take a look at the ban phase here and see who is going to get knocked out for this map. You'd mentioned about how our last map plays pretty heavily into the defense's favor. That's really no different here on Clubhouse. So Mirage will hopefully be able to net themselves an advantage in the first half. We'll see if that holds itself to be true. They've also got the first and final bans here. Let's see if we're going to stick with the typical run-of-the-mill bans that we've been getting, and that seems to be the case, at least off the initial one from Mirage. Will DarkZero follow suit?
That's the thing about them. You don't know what DarkZero is ever going to do. They could, see one thing the opposing team does and use a different ban. And Thatcher's actually going to stay up. I haven't seen a Thatcher stay up on Clubhouse. I think this entire NAL, at least from our broadcasting. For everybody else's, I don't exactly know. But no, we ended up having a Thatcher on our very last broadcast, I think. We had the Thatcher Thermite, if I remember correctly. Yeah. But anyways, that's besides the point. Capitao now banned out. DarkZero onto their defensive ban. I like the Capitao ban here. It's going to allow the anchors to exist longer. And we're still going to see the Wamai play. That's something that Capitao can help with, just because if you're able to get rid of Wamai's discs, or if you execute earlier on, he'll more than likely have less. So Capitao definitely effective in that regard. And here comes the weird one, the smoke ban coming out as the very last.
That's an interesting
I love
one,
it.
especially considering that that's a bit of like a self-handicap ban for Mirage, considering that they're going to start out on defense. But I think that that's also could be the reason as to why DarkZero left Thatcher in. If they're aware of their own potential weaknesses on the attacking side right now and are trying to give themselves a little bit of an advantage, they're thinking maybe, if we can get off to a good start here on our attacking rounds and win like at least 2 or 3 of these, but potentially maybe even more, because we have Thatcher unlocked, it may be worth the risk of just having to play against the Thatcher in the second half.
Here I was thinking to go back and see what Mirage had banned previously on Clubhouse, but then I remembered that they had not played this map yet, so...
And another important thing is, I don't really think Mirage were using smoke that much, at least not on the last
No,
one.
they weren't.
Yeah.
Granted, I've noticed this recently. A lot of teams aren't bringing smoke all the time because, as we've all grown to know, and if you've played Siege, you've probably seen it, smoke is played almost every single defensive site just because of how good smoke is and the utility he provides, with it being able to clip through walls, and you can, safely play in a lot of areas and deny plant and what have you. So, with him being banned away now, that's going to affect DarkZero's anchor positioning if they want to try and deny with smokes, say from cache into server, or you know, downstairs inside of like per se church. But I don't really see them playing the smoke downstairs. I'd say it's more effective towards that CCTV hold. But as we saw previously from DarkZero, they're still good on these anchor positions with the crossfires, so I don't know exactly how this smoke ban's going to affect them.
All right, well, we're going to first taste of that now as DarkZero are out on the board. Let's take a look at their attack and how they are going to approach this overall attack here for Clubhouse. Mirage, as we've seen before, is going to be no stranger to that roam game. Quartz and Silent both out and about right now. The other three players are going to be restricting themselves to the basement, and will probably stay that way. Even Silent looks like he's going to pretty quickly fall back. Roaming from basement is a pretty risky business, usually for the defenders there. So at most, you oftentimes want to commit one, if that, player to the roam on the first and second floors, and it looks like we've already seen Quartz start to fall back too. So no roam game really going to be here, except on blue for Mirage, and even there it's a bit tentative.
Yeah, Clubhouse is the map of two extremes, right? You either are extremely hard on defense, like play very close to site, you play the turtle setup, or you go extreme into the other direction and you play mostly roam game like the SSG setup that everybody obviously knows now with the castles and all of that. So Moto hatch now open. DarkZero making very good time here. This is one of the best offensive rounds I've seen them have throughout this entire matchup so far. A minute and 53, already have one of the hatches open and breaking up the kitchen hallway flooring, as well as having all of the staircases locked down. Mirage more than likely in for a ride.
First swing from DZ against the blue hold, so Silent obviously not going to challenge that anytime soon. And then meanwhile, DarkZero still working on getting the kitchen hatch open. I believe they haven't managed to do that already. But you've got the Hibana out on Repel. She'll shoot in the X-Kairos. First attempt to breach it. Oh, and a nice trap against Zilchi. Eclipse hardscope in onto the angle where normally you would see the impact deployed from. But instead, he gets a little bullets there. He does a trick off, forcing a second X-Kairos to be used in order to get the hatch open. But still, they'll take that trade any day of the week.
Well, the good news is this Mirage still has quite a few units. 4 people still up. Zilchi the only one dead, and that's the Rook. Still have Dirt Tunnel locked down as well. DarkZero mainly on a one-front attack right now. They have kitchen control, but they have to find these picks, and Quartz is making it damn hard inside of Moto. Picks up Mint for his pleasure. That's the EMP is gone now. That's a huge pick. That keeps the church walls locked down. DarkZero is going to have to try and find a different way to get this plant down.
Frag grenade coming in here from Eclipse, and it's going to down Flynn. Not take him out, though. There's no pressure on his current position from a horizontal perspective, so it should be pretty easy for someone to just slide over towards Flynn and get him back into the game. I say that, though. The pressure is coming in through the hatch finally. They're going to go for a plant. Mirage may have missed this opportunity here to try and deny it because they're focused on getting Flynn back up, and Flynn's immediately going to get dropped by Houghton anyway. Now, they did deny the plant. It hasn't gone down, so they were able to get that planter off at least. The problem is they've also lost Quartz, so everything's going to fall to Silent, and it won't really be feasible for him to try and get Quartz up unless we're just not going to see any pressure from DarkZero at all. Yeah, he's actually allowed to get him up, which is surprising. So they're going to bring themselves back up to 2 here. Although obviously Quartz is going to be in a pretty bad spot. Great shot from Silent. Just completely deletes Eclipse. Hyper's there for the trade, but Quartz, remember, he's back in this fight too. He's been able to bring it down to a 1v1. Can he get the kill onto Houghton? Still plenty of time to play this out as well. Only 30 seconds is where we're out on the timer, but no, it's not going to happen. Houghton Cold shuts things down, and DarkZero just barely take control over round number 1.
Some very impressive mechanics there from Silent. Apologies to the outburst, but that was disgusting. Anyways, DarkZero still picks up the round. Good post-plant positions as well, and I think that's the main reason why they allowed Quartz to pick Silent back up, is they already had it established. They didn't need to force anything, just play for the objective play instead and pick up the round. So good round there from DarkZero to isolate the rotations, but mostly amazing job to Eclipse. He had some huge impact with those frag grenades, and that's something that Mirage is going to want to revisit if they head back downstairs. We need some better positioning on that throwable denial.
Not going to be the case in the downstairs hold, though. We're going to go up to CCTV and cache next here for Mirage. And interestingly, they're going to double down on wall denial. Normally only one of these is brought, so they're going to bring not only the Bandit, but the Kaid here, which means there's quite a bit of denial capability. At the same time, like we had talked about quite a bit in the ban phase there, Thatcher is alive and well, so they do need quite a bit of denial to try and make it past those EMPs, and having both of them is certainly going to help with that.
Well, it seems that Mirage just want to try and be as annoying with it as possible. I like the pickup here, but I mostly think that it's going to be loading using the electro claws to actually lock down the garage panels downstairs. This is a very, very useful way to use electro claws, especially with the lineup that they're bringing. We have Flynn for the info denial, as well as Silent and loading, that are going to try and lock down as many walls as they possibly can. We should see Silent dedicate himself to CCTV for as long as he possibly can, but obviously since DarkZero has been very good at setting up what they need, I'm assuming that they're going to be taking quickly the lobby area, or excuse me, the lounge area right below that to get rid of Silent. So we'll have to see how Mirage deals with that. Right now it looks like they're just going to have Quartz downstairs to attempt to lock down the lounge area.
All right, so first garage attempt to get that open there for Sky, just to open up the top angle too. That is going to get tricked, so that's an X-Kairos gone, down to, I believe, 4 hard breaches now. One of the first from the Thermite is more likely going to be used in a moment here. Now keep in mind, there's not enough EMPs to counter out the denial, and with one of them just successfully getting tricked, that is not, or one of the hard breaches, excuse me, just getting successfully tricked, that's not a great sign. Silent here has got a great opportunity to try and get the first trick off. Let's see if it'll be a success or not. The stun comes in. Is he on the right wall for that? Oh no, just a little bit short on the timing, I think. So he's not going to be able to deny it. DZ, get the wall open, get control. And Silent's actually going to be able to survive, you know, being right next to the explosion of the wall. He'll be able to make it out of there with about 30 HP.
Well, still plenty of time for DarkZero to get a move on. They have the main wall open. If they want to go for post plant, or excuse me, if they want to go for default plant here, they're going to want garage control. So DarkZero still working their way around the outside of the building. Silent lit up quite a lot since that engagement on the garage panels. MP towards the bottom of garage to try and get rid of those electro claws, and it's going to work out. Loading now out of utility, but still holding down rafters. Blowing the bottom of garage is now the Thermite. It's going to be a run out here from Flynn. No, that's actually loading. He hops down the rafters. Excuse me. What a play from him. Picks up 1, and that's a way to trade yourself.
Loading just goes like the full chaos theory mode right there. He's like, all right, if I'm going to get traded here, I'm going to at least make sure it's on my terms.
1 for 1, baby.
Runs out the garage and confirms it. Cortha, meanwhile, on the inside of Oil Pit's going to be able to get himself 1 so far for free, although pretty good prospects for him to get traded, especially if he doesn't fall back. Currently still holding on the inside of Pit, so they have to be very careful of that. Here's the look from Eclipse to try and trade him, but he's missed his opportunity. Quartz has fallen back to blue.
Listen, you haven't lived until you've had a gunfight through the actual oil pit area. That's such a difficult place to play around, but Eclipse now with a triple kill, and DarkZero now in a very good position to be able to win this, but Silent's already worked his way back into sight. He still has a Nitro Cell. Flynn also has one in his hand, so good to try and deny here, but all soft panels next to Silent as the Bandit. Could be a problem if somebody pre-fires him. They want to go for the default plant here behind the server stack. They also have plat pressure as well, but Mint all of a sudden hopping down, wants to make a fast adjustment. He has a diffuser as well. He's going to have to rappel upstairs and immediately rush in. If he ends up getting picked off here, this could be all she wrote. Nitro Cell out because they assume they're already going for the plant, but they're not. Mint just now starting it, and DarkZero went off Mirage getting aggressive.
Just barely sneaking in those last few kills as well. DZ really pressing it for time. They also did have the plant going down, as you can see here from the last minute replay, so it would have been safe in that department either way, assuming that the last player alive from Mirage was not able to go downstairs and very quickly try and find the shot through the floorboards. A lot of ifs there, obviously, but pretty safe win for DarkZero at the end of the day. Into the next round, we're going to go. So far, things not working out for Mirage, although they make it very, very close. Some of these more aggressive plays have been bringing their man count down as they've been locking in trades, setting up DZ for trying to execute in the very, very late round. Back to the basement now. We're going to see Mirage make another attempt at this.
Wasn't exactly a poor round from Mirage either. They did a very good job on most fronts. Granted, they weren't able to keep the wall locked down for as long as I think that they would like, but that's mainly due to the fact that DarkZero were very ahead of the game when it came to getting rid of the barricade in between the top of red as well as CCTV, which usually prevents those concussions, but it doesn't work as well as some people assume. Sometimes you can actually get the concussion to go off with that door there. Sometimes it's very weird, but I've seen it happen at least. So, but for Mirage, I think it's more set up for that wall to be open than actually try to actively deny it. I'd like to see the shield play in the corner that we usually see. They've done a very good job of slowing down DarkZero when they do play those anchored positions, so I don't think it'd be a bad adjustment for them at all.
So going to be a bit of a different flare this time for DarkZero. I'm sure you guys noticed it, but we are going to see Sky 6 pick into the Montaigne. Montaigne, obviously a very annoying operator to deal with for multiple reasons, but it's especially compounded on this map when you consider the number of kind of strict hallways you have to deal with, and even the open areas gives him a lot of room and a lot of intel to potentially gather, especially against the basement take if he's able to get in cleanly.
Okay, well, early roaming presence here from Mirage, but I don't think we're going to be seeing it for too long. Pierce, of course, is just checking for a cutoff drone upstairs. No real drone pressure, all except for Mint that's currently active, but just remember we can't see the drones that are not actively being watched, so there always could be some in the trees, especially when you're playing up against a team like DarkZero. You never know where that information is going to come from. Rotation back downstairs from Quartz, just wants to stay alive, much rather deny the wall instead, and that's exactly what he wants to do. Especially with that nitro cell, he's going to be able to possibly get a kill at the bottom of main.
Let's see Sledge work his way back up. Still has a little bit of reconstruction to do here, and quite a few floorboards to try and pop out in the process as well. And Mint is going to slowly look to try and get upstairs control. Most importantly, looking for this Jaeger. Silent still with the upstairs hold. He's got the potential for a swing here out against Mint, and it nearly gets him too. Brings his HP down to about 40. So good attempt. He expects the wraparound to come from construction, man. Just like really good reads right now happening for this player. Silent's doing a fantastic job of trying to keep himself alive, and more importantly, delay. He's caught every single attempt DarkZero has made to get aggressive on him so far, but he's finally going to miss that one. Eclipse will get the opportunity he needs to take out Silent, and now the team can focus on the execute.
That's the most unfortunate thing that happens when you're getting pinched, is there's so many noises going on around you, gunfire, explosions, all of that, and the last thing that you're able to hear is the most important thing you want: footsteps. Not able to hear that Sledge rotate up the main staircase, ends up getting taken out. Just couldn't predict the right angle and had a 33% chance to do it, but not able to make it happen. Oh no! Oh. I thought Eclipse was going to win that, but no, the bars proved to be a bigger adversary than he initially thought. Loading takes him down, but still low on HP. They do have the Rook instead of the Dock, which could definitely be useful in this scenario, but that's not what they want the Rook for. They much rather have the Rook with the impacts to be able to deny the hatch. Hyper with a very late refrag, but still able to pick up Quartz, so still back into the man advantage. Looks like Flynn now wants to dance with the devil as well in the SMG-11, but he's taken out from behind as DarkZero are now pinching onto site. They have full blue control. Skies has worked his way in. I don't know if Mirage knows where this plant's going down. No, they do. They have the intel. Pre-fire through. The Alda can't find a single shot, but actually, no, it does. He slips one by. Headshots hotting, but it's Mint inside a dirt tunnel to clean up the last two and find the round for DarkZero.
I like the 4 like impact grenades that get thrown at the Montaigne at the end there as a desperate attempt to try and push him back. Just doesn't end up working. Great pincer maneuver from DZ to just lock the remaining Mirage players into the back of Arsenal, and I think one may have been in Church too if they hadn't already cleared that out, to make it pretty much impossible for them to be able to pull off a retake. Did a really good job of hiding that Montaigne once again until pretty much the very end as well. So considering that was 6 picked in, unless Mirage got intel earlier on in the round, they had no clue as to the fact that there was going to be a giant shield pushing in and restricting their capability to move and get aggressive against the take from DZ.
This is a very harsh defensive half for Mirage. The real thing for them right now, and the thing that I'm contemplating right now, which is why I'm being so all over the place, is that I think Mirage's main issue is that they're not able to get the early entries, or at least the early frags on defense like they had on Theme Park. Theme Park is a much more open map. Granted, obviously it has its close quarters areas, but Clubhouse is very congested. As you guys can see, the layout of the map is very close quarters. There's not very much room for error, where on Theme Park you can roam. There's a lot of other things that you can do. Here, you'd much rather sit near site, or at least on the same level as site. We often see rotations late, like either up a staircase or down a staircase, and well, obviously this round it's more than likely going to be down or through a hatch. They're not able to have that pressure though, and I think that's the main thing that's hindering Mirage's performance right now, is that DarkZero is able to take their time. They're able to establish these angles and these cutoffs that they need. And it's working, excuse me, really well into, yeah, for some, like my lung just like popped for a second. I'm good though. I promise you I'm alive. We're good. We're good. But all right, yeah, anyways, DarkZero, I think that's just the main reason that they're finding these rounds so easily on offense, is that Mirage isn't able to bring the same flair.
All right, folks. Well, DarkZero out on the board once again, this time going up against the gym attack. Mirage continuing to rotate around despite not having the success they would have looked for in any of the previous rounds here. And this is going to get a little bit drastic for them too, considering how normally defensive side of this map tends to trend itself towards. DarkZero already going 3-0 on attack. They're feeling very comfortable right now with their scoreline, and if they're able to push up to 4-5, Mirage has really got to summon something here to bring it back in the second half, if that's going to be the scoreline what we're going to be working with.
I think the only thing they can summon at that point that'll help is like Exodia or something. I think at that point it's just over, right?
Well, loading, trying to pull off some move over here in dirt. He's going to look for potentially a hard or some soft breach to get himself outside, but doesn't have any to work with besides the C4, and that would be very loud if that was the case.
So that spot right there, John, for, just for the future, you can actually soft punch that, and you can see Jacuzzi balcony.
Yeah, and then you can see like the you can see the
sick,
balcony.
dude.
Yeah,
it's actually so sick. I love that spot. It's so cool.
So not gonna be able to find anything from that position at this point in time, but see if there's gonna be any potential for the play later on. In the meantime here, DarkZero also taking their time. Keep an eye on quite a few angles before they try to get aggressive here and start to work their way back in. Also loading with a Nitro Cell primed and ready to go here. We'll see if the timing's going to be on point at all. No, unfortunately not, as we're still waiting for that actual swing to come in from DZ themselves.
The patience game from Mirage not really working. It appears that they're seeing ghosts right now, the intel, and well, Sky's gonna get a pick downstairs, and that's loading gone. The Nitro Cell was already burnt, but now he's on cams for the rest of the round. Sub-minute now, and DarkZero making some pretty good headway. They've now gotten rid of the man plane beneath. It seems that they want to plant weights here. Bathroom's been given up for Mirage, but can quickly make an adjustment here since no hard breach has been done. Should be able to hold down weights for this foreseeable future. Still looking for picks though, as Skies is on the main stairs, rotates up, and no one covering that either, so bad swing here from Flynn gets him killed, and now DarkZero poised at the top of main, ready to take over logistics. They see the concussion, but no, they're not ready. Oh no, Silent, he could have went for 2, but Sky is ready. Now the triple kill on the Habana, make it a quad. Can he shut down quarters for the ace? You don't need that many bullets inside of a magazine, especially when you're hitting shots like that. It seems that he knows where he is as well. Houghton should be going for the plant here. Throws a drone out. The fake dances back and forth, and it's going to be an ace here for Skies inside of round 4. Great round from him, and exactly what you want to see after that theme park.
Very, very well played from Skies and the rest of DZ. Unfortunately, you had mentioned at one point in the round there, Mirage using a lot of their utility very early on, along with more aggressive swings, which could have potentially given away their positions. They were seeing ghosts. They were getting a little scared that DZ were going to execute way before they actually ended up doing so. And as a result of that, they didn't have a lot of utility to stem the tide when it finally started pushing in. DZ take round number 4, put themselves in an even better position to try and close this out in the second half. And unfortunately for Mirage, things are starting to look more and more dire as we enter the last 2 rounds of their defense.
It's funny because inside of this game, we usually end up talking a lot about post-mortem things. You know, this guy died with this guy died with that. But now we're talking about pre-mortem things. Like, hey, make sure you don't Nitro Cell this, you know, before they actually execute. You're just tossing them randomly and everything. I feel really bad because for Mirage, I think that was more than likely an audio cue. Somebody probably sprinted upstairs, and sometimes you get a little bit more audio than you initially think you're going to get, and it's quite loud, so you end up using utility. I'm going to assume that Mirage didn't have any intel inside of weights, because there's no way that somebody's calling for a Nitro Cell right then, because obviously no one's in there. Unless the Nook is planning the diffuser, then there's no reason to be Nitro Celling that. I'm going to be a little harsh on that just because I expect more out of loading, especially in that scenario. You're the guy that's supposed to be denying the plant and having the head up play downstairs, and just did not work out for them when they needed it most.
Attackers must locate and defuse the bomb.
All right, guys. Well, we've got DarkZero out again, ready to try and claim their 5th round if it's going to be given over by Mirage. But of course, Mirage still very hungry to try and claim their 1st so far on this map. This is where we saw some pretty aggressive plays that worked out well for them as well to at least keep the man count even. The most notable one would have been Loading's hop over the balcony out through the newly destructed garage panel where he was able to get the trade. Unfortunately, the forces were a bit too much for him to deal with, though, and he did ultimately just go 1 for 1, but still a nice heads-up play, along with a few other things that happened in that round.
Well, warm it up for round 5. Let's see if DarkZero can link 5 in a row, John, shall we? Stun grenades into the top of red. Looks like we're going to be going about things in a very similar fashion to the last time we were here, which is concussions through the drone hole to prevent Bandit from putting any of his Bandit batteries down, and you put a hard breach on top of it. More than likely the thermite, try and make things work that way. But Mirage has already adjusted people across. Will Mai now playing at the top. Zilchi here as well to eat the concussion as soon as it passes through the drone hole. This is, oh my god, it happened again. This is very smart play here from Mirage. As Silent locks down the wall, DarkZero has to go underneath, and this is exactly why Hyper is rotating. He did get a drone underneath. He still has his impact, so he can actually stop Silent if he's able to get pressure. But Flynn now being aggressive towards the CCTV window, I'm actually very surprised by that, just because he only has the SMG-11 at range. Unless he's going to hit that initial shot, I don't see it going very well.
Away from this, DarkZero, a flurry of drone work being done. At one point, we had 4 players actively on their drones trying to get intel against Mirage. So Hyper is actually ended up getting caught by Silent upstairs. Normally, it's the other player that wins that duel, so another one getting flipped around from what we normally expect as Silent gets the better of the Zofia in the top-down duel. He's even going to look for another one, and he gets it. Silent now with a double on the round, takes out Mint, just holding the entire downstairs push and still denying the wall in the process. Skies will get the first trade back as he finds Quartz through the construction window and brings us down into a 4v3.
As long as Mirage is able to stay bodies up, this should be a win for them. No EMPs or anything of the sort, but they do still have frag grenades from Eclipse, and now he's playing underneath to be able to deny this wall. Silent not taking the bait, though, and decides to stay up. Does have that nitro cell to be able to defend at least default plant here. DarkZero still looking for the entry game that is desperately needed. They've also adjusted one of their players to possibly take from construction. Sky's still outside on the balcony, so he can adjust accordingly. Flynn with a very big pick here. That's Eclipse from underneath. Now the only 2 remaining members on equal footing. Actually a nice adjustment here. Skies hops in the window, but able to still remain alive. Houghton gets his first pick, but do they know that the construction rotate is happening? Oh, they do. Flynn, what a read. He's able to get traded down into the 1 versus 1 now, but no, Zilchi's still alive. I miscalculated. Mirage take their first round in round 5 off of Zilchi with a very good lockdown on the top of red stairs.
Such a closely fought affair. You have to give some major props right there to Silent along with Flynn for getting the really important kills to try and put the opponents on DZ in a bad position to execute. Flynn as well with the great reads, being able to stop the first attempt to get aggressive on the site, and then finally catching Skies' rotate into construction later on as well. And that's on top of their bandit, or yeah, excuse me, not their bandit. Yeah, I think it was. They're being able to pick up those 2 kills from upstairs, sitting behind the wall while denying everything in the process as well. So really good stuff.
Yeah,
Mr.
Silent was
Silent
was leading the way there. It's okay. It's all right.
I was getting my operator.
It's also the first time we've ever casted Mirage, so you know, names are forgettable.
Oh, Bandit was like Blitz for a second there. I got really confused.
The Blitz did such a good job of denying that wall. I'd really like to see Blitz picked up more often inside of this defensive lineup.
I was like, Bandit, wait.
Dude, I've got a perfect buff for Blitz. Let's put him on defense.
The problem is they're both like, they both have like yellow icons. They both start with B. So it's like,
actually, funny enough, if they actually put Blitz on defense ever, his original design would actually be what was happening then. Because his original design, if you didn't know, was actually supposed to be that Blitz spawned in prep phase.
10 seconds
and then obviously he just got to attack in prep phase.
Yeah,
everyone's setting stuff up and Blitz just walks into sights. Like, what is that, man?
That would have been really weird.
I would not be a caster. I wouldn't. I would have tilted off the face of the planet because of that operator. I'd be gone. Oh my god.
Just like defenders, like, all right, they got one. Just wait for him to run in.
Dude, we would just be like, hey, so who's spawn killing to make sure there's no blitz? That would be the strat.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're back into the action here now. Round number 6, final round of the first half. DarkZero still on excellent footing, even with the most recent round loss. Mirage looking to get a little bit more solid of a round underneath their belt before they end up switching sides and going over to the attack for the last few rounds of this map. And more importantly, where we're going to decide if we go on to a map 3 or if DarkZero is going to close this out.
Well, it's a tale that's not quite too old just yet, so missile rotation being major downstairs. Good roam clear from DarkZero so far. Not much roam game to be had from Mirage, but this is exactly what we expected. Seems that they popped a couple of hatches just trying to show some face. A pre-fire here from Quartz will give himself away. He assumed that the re-peak was possibly coming or that DarkZero felt safe inside of bar, and he thought wrong. Also had a drone there, able to make sure that Quartz rotated back downstairs. DarkZero keeping these staircases nice and tidy. You want to make sure that no one's rotation is able to come through.
Kind of in line, the play right there from their Jaeger, the play from Quartz, kind of in line with what we've seen on past basement defenses, though, because he has tried to swing a few times to cause some hesitation, if anything, on DarkZero's own end. And obviously, he's hoping to try and get a pick, but just hasn't really gotten too lucky in that respect as of yet. Right now, all the way back in sight, though, so he's pretty much given up on his aggressive tendencies, and probably is going to have to remain that way for the rest of the round. DarkZero, about a minute left, is very much in control of the first floor, and is looking to try and transition down once again.
Actually, I think you saying that has kind of put everything into perspective for me for Mirage. So I feel like they're more of an eye for an eye team. They want to trade out as many things as possible, and if you have to take map control somewhere, they're going to make you work for it, even if it's a little bit, right? Like, they're obviously not going to put their entire team inside a bar and say, oh, take bar from us, but they might rotate up main, show face a little bit, give a pre-fire, and say, hey, I just want to let you know I'm here, and I could possibly shoot you in the face, you know? So I think it's a nice style change, or at least a nice style here for Mirage. Not exactly a style change. It's the hatch is going to be opened. Houghton gets a kill as well onto loading, so that's going to be the Evil Eyes locked down for this round, but there's only 30 seconds remaining as DarkZero has a lot to figure out.
One of their players trying to set up Hyper is going to start to work his way down oil pit. Clean drop, but he's got to get past two other players in his way before he even gets to the sites. And one of them, thankfully, is playing on the sites, so may not need to worry too much about that one. Zilchi, though, gets away, has free angles for quite a while. Mint, thankfully, comes in on main stairs and saves the day. That could have gotten very bad very quickly if that Valk wasn't traded out more quickly. And ultimately, Mint's going to be able to find the final kill as well against Silent. Another clean round from DarkZero as they take number 6 and set up that same 5-1 scoreline going into the second half.
Same scoreline, different sides, and that's probably going to offer different results. As DarkZero's hindered side is offense, as everyone's been addressing today, and they did very, very good on it. 5-1 now rolling into the defense, and this is bread and butter for DarkZero. So I expect this defensive half to go extremely well, which means that something miraculous is going to happen for Mirage here. Otherwise, it's sayonara inside of a 2-0. But again, if it does end up going out in that fashion, either way, they've actually played a very good game today.
Definitely the case. Much closer than the scoreline would tell anyway. They've had so many close
excuse me.
shaves,
Actually, apologies. I read that incorrectly. That is my bad. DarkZero's great on attack, bad on defense. So apologies for that earlier on as well, folks. Apologies on that. I had that written down backwards. So shout out to Veli for correcting me on that. Greatly appreciated, my friend. You know, so many numbers on the on the paper, just sometimes they jumble up. You know, it tends to happen.
Yeah, I mean, to talk a little bit more about Mirage here, and the things that they've been able to accomplish in this series, it's a lot of like interesting stuff that they're trying, and some of it's working out pretty well too. It's just it's something that I talked about on our weekly show that we put on YouTube, where it's like this is like I think just a bit of an experience gap that they haven't had the opportunity to play, at least not in an official. I would assume they've scrimmed against quite a few of the U.S. division teams, but they haven't had a chance to play like in an actual official over a real 3-map series yet. And I think that this is like a great opportunity for them to get a better picture as to what that's like, see where they're making their mistakes, and then come back in the future and hopefully be a little bit more prepared to, you know, not mess up in those in the moment things.
I completely agree with you. Completely agree with you. I think Mirage needs to continue to play inside of these games as much as possible. And the thing is, you don't get this experience without game day, right? Everyone talks about scrim energy. Yeah. I think Tempo Storm is the one that everyone talks about when it comes to that. They're amazing inside of scrims. When it comes to game day, they can't play. Game day is a completely different feeling when it's all on the line and there's actually things to be played for. There's always those opportunities to have that nervous knot in your gut or something go wrong that you weren't expecting, and it can completely ruin your morale. So for Mirage, I can definitely see that they have the ability. Oh, what a shot there from Mint. So much damage into loading. Does he get the... Oh my god, Mint! From downtown, he dedicates the nitro cell and takes out not loading in the bottom of garage.
With a full ragdoll on that one too. Send him over the oil pit and right to the other side. Skies is going to get dropped here though a few moments later. Not exactly sure how he ended up getting dropped, but either way, Hyper is there, is able to, at the very minimum, find the trade for the eventual loss of Skies, which comes in via Quartz's grenade just there on the kill feed.
Well, a pretty fiery start to the round. Silence worked his way down into blue, and apparently nobody's home either. Able to pick up one on the Houghton. Still has 2 remaining inside of sight. The foreseeable future. Eclipse with the initial gunfight doesn't deal too much damage, but the drone game of Silent has been hindered. Last 2 remaining defenders trying to come up the long hallway now next to Church, holding dirt as Eclipse is holding blue. Mirage still has plenty of time on the board, but it appears that Silent is the lone man inside of sight for the time being. Zilchi's worked his way down to blue now, as well as one inside of dirt. This is a huge kill on Eclipse if they're able to get it. Now they have throne control, and they're able to cut off the man inside of the hallway. Mint picks up 1, now down into the 1 versus 2. Still has the ability to deny plant. since Quartz is so very low. Doesn't have the Nitro Cell, though. Able to find one behind the dummies box. Stun grenade out. It's full blind for him now. Quartz able to work his way in behind B3. Starts putting that diffuser down. Now it's up to Zilch to be able to hold the angle. Don't get too aggressive, though. Dump those stuns out. He's getting aggressive in and of himself. Is he able to get the flip around? The shotgun out, but Quartz, you have a head on your shoulders, my man. Use that brain. Round 7 goes in favor of Mirage.
So close for a clutch to come out from the last player alive on DZ, but not going to happen. Quartz gets the right read and manages to make things swing into his team's favor. As Mirage starts to swing back, that scoreline is going to get closer and closer. So maybe things are not done for them just yet. Certainly bringing quite a bit of fight to this attacking side. Now it's time to see if DZ can wake up a little bit here. Iron down themselves to get ready to take the next 2 rounds. They're going to be heading upstairs for it as well. A good aggressive start from Mirage on that last round seems to have made them think that they can't close it out if they repeat it. So they'll continue to rotate and go upstairs where things are going to be a little bit closer to the chest, and hopefully Mirage can't execute that aggressively again.
Well, the main thorn in their side right now is Silent. Silent is so good at being able to get pressure onto site and silently get there. It's truly incredible. You know, that was such a hard word to reach for, by the way. It wasn't right in front of my face or anything like that. You know.
Just like quietly.
Yeah. But that's definitely the main issue for DarkZero right now. As long as they're able to shut down the Silent in his entry game, I think they're in a pretty good spot. But Quartz has also proven himself worthy when it comes to a lot of these gunfights, especially with Hyper. He's been able to win these one-on-ones most of the time, actually. I think they're pretty even when it comes to kills onto each other. So as long as Mirage is able to still get these entry kills, I don't see DarkZero locking it out just yet. Also, the offensive unit from Mirage has been working so damn well.
Certainly the case. Like I said, they've definitely brought some interesting ideas to the table, and most of them have been working out, at least from a theoretical perspective. Zilch is going to open up things real quick here on the bottom right panel of one of the garage walls. That'll go off without too much delay. No one there to try and stop that from happening. The same will be done with the top angle. Try and quickly deal with some of the utility on the inside here. Hyper is ready to try and stop it if somebody tries to crawl in or try to take an angle closer to that breach. But at the moment, we're not seeing that. So Hyper may have to start backing up if the pressure is going to be actually fully pushing itself in over the next few moments.
Well, if he is able to maintain this position, it's going to be a very good spot. Concussion underneath. Oh, completely different play here. And from Mirage, trying to deal with the wall. Instead, they impact underneath and concuss through the opening from stock. So, nice adjustment here. But now they're out of impacts, and they don't have a way unless the EMP can come down from loading to get rid of these bandit batteries. And I think that is exactly what they want. Silent reads Eclipse like a book. Eclipse trying to get the angle to the stock door, but Silent finds it first as he stands up. What a shot as well to be able to take out the man inside of Garage. This is completely into Mirage's hands now as Garage has been given up by DarkZero, and also they have the breach open for Plat.
Drones are in to hopefully give Mirage a little bit more intel. Hyper is not going to be present here in the corner anymore, I don't believe, so won't be able to assist with that. He's going to rotate way around the map and has thankfully safely made his way back upstairs. So he's going to be able to contribute from the inside of the site itself. In the meantime, though, Mirage still working to get themselves into the site. They do have the balcony wall open, so Silent and Flynn will be able to move in through this avenue. The rest of the team more likely going to try and take control from Garage. But as we said before, DarkZero has been able to rotate all their players back into a safe position. There's no one overextended playing downstairs or otherwise away from this. So it's going to be a very, very bloody fight when Mirage finally decides to commit to the inside cache. At the same time, a well-placed nade could do some real damage here, considering how closely stacked together they are. And you just saw that right there. But at the same time, Nitro Cells can do the damage back. There's a nade kill, followed by a Nitro Cell kill, leading to the losses of Houghton and one of the players from Mirage. But that only serves to even it back out into a 3v3. Neither team with a serious advantage as of yet. Flynn's going to move in, start to go for the plant. He's going to begin to get sprayed down, but he saves his own life by making it out. Not only that, but his two teammates trade out 2 more kills. Everything's on Hyper, but he also gets 2 and brings us down to a 1v1. Hyper's also out of ammo on his primary, has to switch over to his secondary on the pistol to try and close this out. There was a pistol to work it, that's going to be it, but no! Silent gets the better of it with his own sidearm, takes out Hyper, and Mirage steal round number 8.
That is so unfortunate for Hyper. I believe it was the C75 that he had. The thing has the worst iron sights in the game. That is not even an argument. That's just a fact. If you haven't used it, it's not the best gun in the world when it comes to that. Most of the time, you actually have to like start on ADS and then ADS right at the beginning of the gunfight in order for the bullets to actually hit where you want, because it's just 3 blocks in a row. So unfortunate for Hyper there that he didn't have any more rounds in the K1A. That's more than likely exactly what happened to him. Just couldn't get those bullets to land, and Silent able to clean it up with a pistol. I did not see that happening at all. Very exciting round overall by both entries.
All right, so Mirage bringing a lot of fight to the table, nearly losing it as well. And things are brought down to a 1v1. A valiant attempt from Hyper to try and clutch out the 1vx. Ball's just a little bit short in that final duel, though, so it's not able to get the job done. And with that, Mirage is brought back to life. They're only 2 rounds away from tying this back up and leaving us at a 5-5 scoreline. And more importantly, DarkZero has yet to claim either of their rounds here on defense. This will be their 3rd attempt at one and their 2nd attempt upstairs.
Well, I don't think it's a bad idea to go back upstairs at all, especially after that last round. We'll see if Hyper has the same amount of influence. Does still have impact to be able to make himself rotates whatever he needs on the roam, but could possibly use those for post plant or deny plant, whatever they exactly need. For this garage presence, though, Clips needs to be a touch more patient. Playing the rafters, very unfortunate for him that he was taken out so quickly by Silent inside of stock, but it seems that DarkZero want to try and slow down Mirage as much as possible downstairs. Hyper back in the same spot behind the blue box in garage. Hasn't been drawn out by Zilchi just yet, but this is the main focus for Mirage right now.
Gonna try to open up the garage panels here, but Hyper does have the quick denial ready to go on that one. Elsewhere on the map, though, Mint has been able to find out Quartz. I think he was trying to fall down the steps, and Mint was probably about halfway there when he caught him. So a good find from Mint to catch one of the more aggressive players from Mirage, and early on, too, usually a pretty big piece to their fragging power, so he's going to be removed from this situation.
Very unfortunate for them, but they do still have Silent at their disposal, and also Loading. I know obviously he isn't doing the best right now, but Loading is definitely a guy that if somebody needs to pop off, he is well within his right to do so. He's such an incredible player when it comes down to it. Very, very good game sense that's able to get him quite a few kills. Actually dropped a 21 bomb, I believe, inside of Canadian Pro Division this season on Oregon, but ended up, I believe, I think they ended up actually losing that game, if I remember correctly. But nevertheless, 1:30 left. Loading with the entry frag here that they desperately needed. Takes down Mint inside of bar. Seems that they still have some garage pressure possibly, but no, that's Hyper escaping out of oil pit.
Another important piece that Mirage lost with the death of Quartz was their nade supply, too. He was the one bringing the frags to the table, and they were relying a nice play from Skies there. Really aggressive, jumping himself down the red steps, is able to find Silent. But yeah, if you remember just from the last round, they used those nades to get massive damage onto the players stacked on the inside of Cash. They've completely lost that with neither of them getting used in that round. And unfortunately, that's going to hurt them pretty heavily. Even in the last map, Mirage was using nades quite heavily to try, at minimum, force players out of position, if not get kills outright. So that's actually a pretty big loss for that round from the utility perspective. Down to 3 now, as they've gotten very, very close to the site, but are at that point where they have to be very, very careful about every step they take due to the fact that DarkZero is right next to them, right around the corner, and can very quickly shut them down if they move in without proper utility usage. We can see Zilchi, who did get some damage off onto Skies on the back, but they haven't checked for this player here. Hotton's going to be able to get both. Oh, I thought he got that third one too. That would have been insane. But no, Eclipse is there to pick up the final kill against Loading and shut down the round for DZ, finally giving them a defensive round and putting them up on map and match point.
What a round there from Hotton, and that's all it takes, folks, inside of those positions. You want to know how hard it is to play anchor on site. It's that difficult. Find the position where they're not going to drone, or somewhere where you think you're going to be safe, and hold on for dear life because you're in for a ride. Mirage missed droning, or not having the intel available for them to try and figure out where everyone was playing on site. They got some good intel on Skies after he initially crouch bounced over green box to be able to see into construction, but besides that, they didn't know where everyone was playing, whether inside of garage or inside of the CCTV area, and that's exactly why Mirage got dealt with handedly when they eventually went for the execute onto Cash. You got to make sure to have all of the intel you possibly can at your disposal, especially for the rooms directly next to you, because that's more than likely where those members are going to be playing. Great anchor positions there from DarkZero, and great limiting of that intel game.
One 6-pick's going to be used here for Houghton. He's going to hide the Valkyrie. See if they can surprise DarkZero, or excuse me, surprise Mirage at all with that. Not really going to throw them off too much, though. Valkyrie's an operator we expect to come into the fold quite often, especially really on any map, so I'm not going to be super influential on that one. So overall setup should be here for DZ, though. Bit of an extended hold going over to Cash with the usual reinforcements also going up in the gym bedroom area.
Okay, well, this is possibly our last round here between Mirage and DarkZero. And if that happens, folks, DarkZero has a date with Destiny later on today. This is going to be a long day for whoever's the victor of this. 2 best-of-3s inside of a singular day is not the most fun thing, but something that DarkZero is going to have to go through in order to make it to this major.
We've got Mirage working their way quickly through to try and open up the wall leading to the inside of security. And they'll be able to do that without much of an issue, as it is soft. So it's just one swing of the hammer, and they are in. As far as DZ is concerned, too, no real reason for them to try and get aggressive in this situation. It's up to Mirage to try and get the intel and set themselves up appropriately to, first of all, deal with Eclipse, I would imagine, and then work their way in through areas like bathroom past the jacuzzi balcony wall.
DarkZero's not in too bad of a spot here. I'm trying to assess exactly what Eclipse has around him inside of sight, because he has a soft single panel. Hyper's on rotate as well right now downstairs, which Mirage is going to have to be cognizant of. Otherwise, this could prove to be a very damning situation, especially with well, the man that is rotating, because that's Hyper. You don't exactly want him to go big here, otherwise that's more than likely spelling death for your squad. Mirage now working their way through the upstairs hold. Still haven't found any intel here, as they're also going to start droning upstairs. They've completely neglected the downstairs area, which means Hyper's in prime position to win this round.
Do some real work, considering he hasn't gotten spotted yet by any drone. They are going to see this mute jammer get deployed onto the ground too. Hyper finally strikes, is able to catch a player on the inside of the bathroom. That's Silent, who had been roaming around the bar area previously when we were looking at him in his perspective before. But now, as we go to another spot on the map over here to the cash push, we are going to see Zilchi find some success for Mirage, as he's able to take out Eclipse and open up the construction angle for the rest of his team to push.
Well, they need this push now, but no, it's Houghton out the window. Pre-fires, but not able to get it. It's a trade game back and forth, which ends up with Mirage on the bottom of the pile. Zilchi, touch of damage done to him, but more damage done to Quartz as he's now dead. It's the 1 versus 3 now for Zilchi. He has to clutch up here to keep their dreams alive, and that would be a huge round. He's got Macy J with him as well. The charm energy working out for most of these teams this season. We'll see if the MJ outplay is possible. Able to get one with Zilchi. Mint down now. Very low on HP as he works his way into logistics. Still has stun grenades, but no drone game here. Gonna have to be face checks. Does have a rotate through cash, or excuse me, secret here. Has a Valkyrie camera, which is gonna have him red out as he goes through the rotate, but DarkZero, very, very good positioning right now. So patient. Last stun grenade or ADS eaten up here. Has to rotate back around, but the barbed wire's in his way, and Hyper locks it up. DarkZero are headed through this one, winning it in 2-0 fashion.
And that puts DarkZero only one more match away from being able to qualify for the major. They will have to play the winners of our next match, which is going to be coming up after this one. Commiserations, of course, to Mirage. A very well-played series by them, but not enough to get past DarkZero, as they are going to take control of this series and move themselves forward into our winner bracket final.
Yeah, such a good showing from both of these squads, but I would particularly like to commend Mirage for making it this far. They had a great showing inside of the Canadian Pro Division, and again, a great showing today. DarkZero is no slouch of a team to be able to even get this amount of rounds against them when we had no idea what Mirage was coming into this matchup looking like. I would definitely say that they have proven their ability today.
Absolutely the case. And don't forget, there is going to be a little bit more Mirage action of them playing more US Division teams. There's the 2 lower bracket matches, which you should note are not going to be streamed, but will be uploaded to YouTube on the Rainbow Six Esports channel at a later date. So if you're interested in seeing more from Mirage, you can check out, well, of course, their Canadian Division games, as well as those other games, which should be hopefully up within the next day or two. That's going to do it for now for us, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go back to the analysis desk in just a few minutes here to break things down in this series and, of course, get us ready for our next one. Stick with us, folks. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
Welcome back. I'm Jackie Jing with Veli and Jesse. And map 2 going to DarkZero. They claim Clubhouse 7-2-3, beating Mirage. All right, DarkZero, they did a solid job on this map 2. And Jesse, they were pushing together on attack, and it worked for them, right?
Yeah, definitely. I thought their coordination attacking on this map was really good. Obviously, it's their map pick. They're going to be pretty prepared for it, and that really did shine in the first half. Some of it was like pushing in pairs. They were doing a lot of coordination, which was really nice to see. Some of it was more individual play. I thought that Eclipse and Skies particularly had 2 big rounds when they were attacking in that first half. So, you know, it was really DarkZero in their comfort zone, I would say, on Clubhouse. And they played really well together. They managed to get those big, important picks. Some of it was also Mirage maybe not being in the best of positions, but you can't take anything away from DarkZero, I'd say.
I would say one of the most important things DarkZero did especially was clearly just killing the stragglers that were around the map. Playing together was key, even if it was a drone along with the entry fragger. There were times where we just saw players drop dead in bar time and time again. And DarkZero, they were always up a man because of that. So, hey, shout out to them.
Yeah, Veli, talking about Mirage's mistakes, you kind of gathered a little list here while we were watching,
Yeah,
right? You got a little list accumulated.
Yeah, so kind of like how I was just praising DarkZero for their drone work and really using that intel to get the kills and secure the wins. Mirage had times where they didn't do that, and some of the most memorable rounds came in later on in the game. For instance, 3 rounds ago, you have Thatcher on the board. Thatcher goes to bar. Yes, he gets the kill, but why is he there when your Thermite and Zofia are working together to open up the CCTV wall? Zofia should be in bar getting the kill, and Thatcher should be with Flynn because they weren't able to open up the wall because of that. And also, that killed a lot of time on the end of Mirage. Also, when Zofia went in the lounge to try to get rid of the Electric Claw to help out the Thermite, there was no drones, and it was essentially Silent all alone trying to find not only the Electric Claw, but watching his own back for someone that could come out and kill him, and that's exactly what happened. Small mistakes like that, I'm not going to say that they're bad or anything. It just comes with experience, because that type of stuff might pass, it might slip through the cracks against, you know, the Canadian League and whatnot, but it's not going to happen against a team like DarkZero. They're too experienced.
Yeah. And we just had stats up, and it was showing Silent as one of the top performers. We have Skies on here as well. He had an ace. But I wanted to talk about round 8 in particular. I was going nuts. I thought that was such a fun round. We saw Hyper versus Silent, which were the players that y'all picked to watch at the top of the show. And just straight up, I was like, from Silent's perspective, you just see Hyper just knock off some picks there, right? And then he's coming for you. I could not imagine that sort of pressure, but then he pulled it off, right?
Yeah. Chat, just so you all know, Jackie said, I would be shaking if I played Hyper one-on-one.
Oh,
I said no. The part that scares me about that is if it's a 3v1 and you know you're supposed to win, and Hyper kills both of your teammates in a second, and you're like, okay, I gotta fight Hyper now. Like, I'll poop my pants, man.
I would be so afraid. And then Silent pulled it off. But anyway, we have Hyper up on the screen now. So let's hype up Hyper a little bit, Jesse.
Yeah, I mean, not 80% cost. That's pretty ridiculous. The KD's not the best we've seen from him, but it's still quite good. You know, you're not going to knock that at all. I think that he had some standout plays, particularly in that first map. He stepped back a little bit this time, let his teammates shine to get some more of those really big impact plays. But I mean, Hyper is still known as the best player in North America for a reason, and I would say he showed up quite well. That 1v1 though, definitely that was Quartz's moment.
Fun.
Sad that Hyper couldn't win it, but you got to give the other players some chances to shine too.
Oh shoot, was it Quartz?
Oh no, I misspoke. It was Silent.
Yeah, it was Silent.
Yeah, okay. I was like, wait,
My bad,
I thought
my
it
bad.
was Silent. There's our boy now, Silent on the screen. But you know what? We've been, we had Veli accumulate his list of mistakes, but Mirage repping Canada in a big way.
So well.
I was worried they were going to get crushed. I really was like, I do not know how this is going to go today. They actually had some solid maps. I think both of you can kind of sound off on that.
Yeah.
Veli, why don't you start since you had your list of mistakes? Let's talk about their list of good things,
I'm so
positives.
impressed, especially by their individual play in big moments, especially Silent. Silent might be silent, but his gun is loud. He was able to rack up some really quality kills. I really became a fan of Quartz. I'm going to admit I never watched a lot of footage from both of those players. But I feel like if this team, if they can minimize those small mistakes, this series would have been way closer. But you know what? You take the loss, you take it on the chest, you learn from it, you move on better than before. So I want to see them again against these U.S. division teams and see how it pans out next time around.
And I want to see maybe more of these players step up in the Canada division, even outside of Mirage. Yeah. I think that this is a good showing of like what the best of Canada can do. And I know that like these players coming into things, like we heard them in the interview and before, they kind of knew they had to be the top of Canada. And then coming into a game against DarkZero, you're probably not expecting to win. You want to show that you have good strategies. You want to show you're a coordinated team. You want to show you can hang in that matchup. And I think they more or less did so. They were a lot more comfortable, I would say, on their map pick than they were here on Clubhouse. Quartz is a player I want to highlight with his grenade play. It was really, really nice to see in that second half. Mirage have been known in the Canada division to be an attacker team. They have, I think, the highest attacker stat in Canada, and then they're just 1% below, 56% on attack compared to DarkZero's 57% on attack. That's so good. I mean, their attacks are really good, and I thought we saw that again here today. The strengths of Mirage were quite amplified in this matchup. It just wasn't enough to beat, one of the best teams in all of North America.
And we are waiting on that interview with Mint. But while we are waiting, Jesse, I know that you avidly watch the Canadian division, and I host it on Fridays. And something that we frequently hear from the casters is that, this is a new region. They are trying to make improvements, and it's going to be a gradual process. I think Mirage definitely stood out, but from what you've seen from the Canadian division so far, how do you think that region is shaping up? And I always ask Kixon and Taro, what do you want to see from that division?
I think they've really been starting to show their strengths, right? It's nice to see some American players mixed in there. I've been watching the Canadian region play for the last 2 years now, and you could go back to 2018, where the region was just a mess. Nobody was any good. When you had a full Canadian roster, they just weren't playing very well in their Canadian Nationals. And then we had in 2019, where we saw them again in the Canada Nationals, and there was some more coordination, there was more structure. It really did feel like teams were starting to solidify, and they were starting to realize how to play top level Siege. A lot of the French teams as well, the Quebec scene in particular in Canada, have been working together and forming their own bonds for a long time. So it's nice to see at least one of those teams represented in the Canada division for fully francophone team. Coming in from Nordic. So that's really nice to see. And then, definitely in 2020 here, when we have the North American League, they get their own division hosted on the main channel. This is the best we've ever seen from Canada. The improvement has been there, for the last few years, and it's going to keep growing.
All right. Well, definitely congratulations to Mirage. They had a great showing, but huge congratulations to DarkZero. And we do have Mint on deck. Mint, how you feeling, man? Clinching a spot in the NA Major. I'm sure y'all are feeling pretty excited. Or one step closer. Yeah. One step closer. Yes, I'm sorry. I jumped the gun there. But yes, this is still a big victory for y'all. How you feeling?
I thought we about to make the major right there. I was about to go run down the street, but feeling pretty good.
Sorry.
Feeling pretty good to be in the finals.
It's a Saturday. I apologize. No. It's great to be in the finals. And I definitely want to pick your brain about that. I know that it's been kind of a rocky season for y'all, and I'm sure you came out feeling some pressure, we really, really need to get this win. So tell me, what do you feel like you all did well today, and what issues have you worked on?
I feel like we just played more as a team today. I think we had that really bad week versus SSG and TSM. We had to do a lot of soul searching, and just, we weren't playing together. We weren't playing with each other. That was one thing. And then obviously, the biggest thing, I think even Veli showed with the stats, something we knew a while ago, is our defense is just something that we never really addressed, and it's kind of always been a problem with us, that's where we were inconsistent, and we kind of take the hard way and like to win on our attacks. So we kind of revisited some of the roles the past week, and we think we might have found something, but yeah, we're still kind of tinkering with that, just trying to find some consistency on defense, and I think that really helped us, at least today. I think both maps.
Well, our analysts definitely saw some improvements, and you guys got the victory. I want to ask you about how you approach this matchup specifically against Mirage. Was there anything that you were targeting, and did you see anything during the matchup that kind of threw you off that y'all had to adjust to?
Honestly, this was a game where, like, I think they only played 3 maps their entire Canadian Pro League scene. I think they only played 3 maps, and we played 2 maps today that they didn't play. So honestly, we had no idea what to expect from them. The last time we scrimmed them was like 2 months ago. So honestly, just going into it, it was literally just play our game, and if we feel like if we could do that, then we'll be fine.
Well, great. Y'all did play your game, and you came out victorious. So let's talk about the next matchup. What's your mindset going into that, and who would you prefer to see, Sonics or Tempo Storm, or I don't know, just tell us what you're thinking for the next matchup.
As far as prefer to see, I think we all kind of want the Sonics. I think everyone saw us play the Sonics with 2 subs, and obviously we weren't even happy about dropping a map to 2 subs, so kind of hope they get past Tempo, and then we can really see the true strength of the roster kind of thing. I do think it's a pretty good matchup for us too. They like to play structured as well, just a little bit more aggressive. And then we're kind of just ready to prove that we can kind of handle that kind of play style as well. Usually that's like the knack on us, is like, we can't handle aggression and things like that. So definitely ready to just put us to the test and, beat whoever the heck we have to beat and get to the major.
All right, well, you are heading to the finals. You have some faithful fans out there. I was wondering if there was anything that you wanted to say to them as you go into the finals here and try to clinch that spot.
Honestly, appreciate everyone for rooting us on. We do have some things that we're working on, but, we are working extremely hard every day to make it to this major and just to be the best team possible. So honestly, appreciate all the support, and yeah, we're just gonna keep working.
All right, Mint, thank you so much, and good luck in the finals. Thanks for chatting with us.
Thank you.
All right, let's bring it back to our analysts. Oh my God, I jumped the gun. I'm like, y'all got a spot. I mean, wait, you're one step closer to getting a spot. Yeah. But anyway, I'm sure they're super excited. Yeah, no, he's great. He's absolutely delightful. Love chatting with these guys. But it was interesting that they were like, hey, like, we heard what the analysts said. And, I think they specifically said you, Veli. Yeah. And they were like, we worked on our defense. They definitely improved. And one thing with DarkZero is like, they're a top team, and we just see them always kind of like in the bottom of the top 4, but like I know they have the potential to be great. So this could maybe be the start of that. We'll see.
I believe so. I mean, honestly, I could have just shut my mouth, and this is something that they already knew. They're the best team on attack by far, and it's not even close. Defense is going to get figured out because it's the easier side. I don't have any doubts for DarkZero. They're going to come back on top.
Okay, well, we are moving into our second matchup here, Sonics versus Tempo Storm. Oh, Veli, I know you love that rivalry.
Is it really a rivalry? Only one team won.
I mean, we love to see them face off. Hey, maybe today will be different, Veli. Maybe today will be different. We shall see. But let's go to a break. We'll be back in a little bit. Sonics versus Tempo Storm. Do not go anywhere, folks. See you soon.